Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
John, don't podcast.
You don't have to chase me.
You don't have to podcast.
Everyone podcast Fletch.
So stupid. The way he says, you don't have to run. I love that. Wanted to get that.
Everyone podcast Fletch.
Done as
Well, it's episode 2 of Fletchcast, of course, as implied there. Hi, everybody. My name is Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
This is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David. It's hosted by us. We are # the two friends. And this is a podcast where we study filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on and are given a series of blank checks from the Bank of Hollywood to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear. Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they clear.
This one cleared.
But sometimes they bounce, baby.
Yes.
This is a clear, though. I think this is a clear.
And financially, it was a mild clear, but artistically, it's a...
Yeah, I think somewhat of a disappointment in relation to, like, celestial expectations.
Sure.
People, like, had intergalactic expectations for what this movie was going to do, and then it was terrestrial. But a very good movie. I think it's aged very well.
Yep. Let's not say the name.
No, never. What if that's our goal, is that we never say the title of the film whole episode?
That'd be annoying.
Let's see how long we can do it.
No, I don't want to.
Okay. This is a miniseries about the films of a little guy named Stevie Spielberg.
Is he little?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to look up his height.
Can I throw out a guess? 5'8".
Bingo.
Really?
On the nail.
Here's the thing.
Wow.
Short guys can spot short guys.
How tall is his spouse? Google tells me. Kate Capshaw?
Can I throw out a guess?
Yeah.
5'9".
5'7".
Ooh.
What about Jessica Capshaw
In this movie.
in this movie?
In this movie.
In this movie.
Little role.
Yeah.
We have a guest. She's 5'5". Jessica Capshaw. Just FYI.
Okay.
Kate Capshaw, of course. Her mother.
Yes.
Steven Spielberg, her stepfather.
I believe
And
so.
this has been that episode of Blank Check.
Family Tree.
Tree.
Capshaw Family Tree.
Yeah. This is a miniseries called Pod Me If You Cast. And it's about the films of Steven Spielberg in the DreamWorks era. He made his dreams work.
Oh, nice.
We should do that every time. Although this one doesn't have it, right?
Oh, it does, but
Does
it's got
this
an
drop
eerie...
out the sound, or it just has the weird watery logo?
It has it. It has the sound. It has the music, but it's creepy
It's like
now.
distorted.
Ooh.
It's ominous.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about his first of 2 2002 releases.
True.
He went 2 for 202. 2 for 2202. 2 for
Just
2
stop while you're
2002.
ahead, and you're not ahead.
2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Babinowitz.
I don't know. I don't get it.
My
No,
great
I don't
uncle's
wanna
name is Stuart Rabinowitz. We call him 2-2 Babinowitz.
Go.
And this motion picture is called Minority Report.
Yeah, that's right.
And today, as our guest,
Phenomenal.
so excited, flown all the way from Los Angeles, as we do. We always pay
No,
to
from
fly
the
our
Bay
guests out.
Area. From
That's true.
From
Northern
from
California.
Northern California.
Northern California,
my
really?
friend.
Where in?
Oakland.
Oh my lord!
Mm-hmm.
Oaktown.
Do you ever hang out
Yeah,
with
what's the nickname of Oakland? What do you call it? I was about to say the big, but then I didn't. I
the
don't
big
know what-
oak tree?
Oaktown.
Oaktown?
Yeah,
Is Oaktown the term?
Oaktown.
You ever hang out with Billy Bean?
No.
No.
Should I?
I don't know. I like Moneyball. I feel like every time I watch that, I'm like, I'd love to get drinks with this guy one time.
Maybe I'll make that my 2017 New Year's resolution.
That's a great one. I'll
Yeah.
match you on that. Let's
Okay.
do it together so
All
we
right.
can motivate each other to
I
both get
love
drinks
it.
with Billy Bean.
According to Wikipedia, Bump City is a nickname for Oakland.
Literally never heard that.
And the motto of Oakland is "Love Life."
Wait, is Bump City as in like cocaine bumps?
I
Like,
don't know. This might be a slightly
See, I hear that.
inappropriate, problematic term.
yeah.
I hear that and I think about bad shave. You know, I'm
It's
like,
an-
this is
no,
a
no,
bad
it's
shave. I
an-
got bumps all over.
Now it's an old.
My face is
nickname.
Bump City right now.
potholes? Like
Yeah.
too many potholes in Oakland?
Nah,
The-
maybe I don't know.
Buckle your seatbelt. It's gonna be a bumpy ride through Oakland.
It was the name of Tower of Power's second album, and of John Crick's book. You know what? I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
Joanna Robinson is here
Hello.
today from Vanity
I
Fair.
forgot we were still introducing her.
From Vanity Fair from 1,000 podcasts.
Oh my God! You
Storm
want
of
to list them?
spoilers.
Or is it more just sort of the Joanna Robinson podcast universe?
Yeah, it's sort of like the MCU, but they did like what JRPU. That does not roll trippingly off the tongue at all.
You're sort of an adjunct fighting the war room member.
Yeah,
right?
like a an honorary chair. I'm fighting the war
Sure.
room, Star Wars spoilers, Cast of Kings, Little Gold Men, Decoding Westworld.
It's a lot.
Thought bubble sometimes. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just that.
What show do you think Decoding Westworld is going to cover next? Do you have one lined up?
Boom.
Dino Truck season 2
Yes.
until Westworld comes back.
Yes.
Troll Hunters.
Yeah, you just have to filter everything through the Westworld prism. You have to watch another show but pretend it takes place in the Westworld universe.
Let me promise you that Westworld will come up while we're talking about this movie because I thought about it a lot while I was watching this movie.
I did too. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, this movie is all about predestination and fate versus sort of programming and if you'll do something, if you're told to do something and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it has a lot of overlap.
Sure.
Minority Report
Minority Report is the movie.
is the film. Year's 2002. Stevie has AI was the year earlier.
That's right.
Was a disappointment.
Yeah.
Financially and critically.
Big
Emotionally,
budget sci-fi.
personally for me.
Him taking over Kubrick. And now here comes, this was a real event because for years there had been this talk of like, Spielberg and Cruise want to do something together.
Mm-hmm.
It was always nebulous. There were different projects. It was different things, but it was always like, God, if you could get those two guys to make a movie together, whew, barn doors.
We should
Gonna
say
be blown
the
off.
big one that they almost made together is Rain Man.
Yes.
Spielberg was attached to Rain Man, was working on Rain Man,
Right.
and gave it to Barry Levinson to make Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And that was pre-Spielberg Oscar, so it was one of I think it became this running joke that Spielberg kept moving off of projects that then won Oscars because there's another one. Rain Man's one of them, but the other one, I can't remember.
Yeah,
some
and
other
then-
big '80s movie that he left.
And then until Schindler's List, anytime he kind of picked a strategic Oscar picture, it wasn't the right fit for him, like Color Purple or Empire of the Sun.
Right.
You know, those were like his rare flops. Even Always, I think, for him was kind of like an Oscar play. You know, certainly more than like a commercial play.
Okay, so they've been talking about working together. Here, I've got some stuff for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
This is a Philip K. Dick story. It was optioned by Gary Goldman in the early 90s.
Yep.
He wrote a script, and the script keeps getting moved around. It was going to be made as a sequel to Total Recall.
What?
Yes.
Fascinating.
They were going to like insert,
What?
what's his name in Total Recall? He has a hilarious.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
It's a hilarious, ridiculous name
It
that would
is.
never exist in the real world. Yeah,
Sure,
Arnold
sure.
Schwarzenegger.
No,
yeah.
it's not hilarious. It's Douglas Quaid. It's almost
Right,
hilarious
right.
that it's not. It's too normal.
Right, because I always think
It's
he's
not
the
like
third
John
Quaid
Matrix.
brother. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I like watching that movie and pretending he's Randy and Dennis's brother.
So yeah, they were going to put John. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. What do you? He's going to be like, ha, you sure had some fun on Mars. Anyway, back on Earth, we created pre-crime. Like,
Right.
but anyway, that was the original idea. Jan de
That's
Bont
amazing.
was going to direct
Because
it.
he's got executive producer credit
Yes,
on this
coming
movie.
off a
That would have been
Speed.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
Right off of Speed, and then Cruise gets attached,
Mhm.
and or he at least reads the script. He gives it to Spielberg, and he says, "There's something here, although we need to totally gut this script."
Right.
And so
Yeah, because there are two writers credited on this film, and one of the two writers, this is his only credit ever.
John Cohen, I believe.
Right.
his
And then
name
the
is.
other one is Scott Frank,
Scott Frank,
who's
who
a
wrote
fucking
Out of Sight. He's a
Right.
great writer, and he's the one who guts the
Marley and
script.
Me. He's a great writer. But there's like another example of that where like Total Recall's a similar thing where a dude optioned the rights to that story and like pushed
Right.
it up the hill for years and years and years until Schwarzenegger or Verhoeven or De Laurentiis, one of the three, latched onto it first
Right.
and said like, oh, there's something here. Bought it from him, pushed him off of it. He gets money off of Total Recall forever.
Right.
But like they didn't use his script at all.
Right.
And I think that was kind of the deal with this guy too, because you have to assume short story. This dude fleshed it out. Cruise looks at it, goes, interesting themes, interesting ideas.
Let's get a new
Let's
story
get
in here.
a steady hand in here. Scott Frank comes in with his Wolverine claws, slashes through it, builds a new,
Snicked,
building.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spieley is like, yeah,
Spieley? We're
I can't
calling
call
him
him
Spieley?
we're not calling. I'm calling him Spieley. I'm going to try out a couple different hats this episode.
So Cruise and Spielberg take 15 points instead of a big salary to
Each?
keep the budget
Wow.
down.
Each.
Which, like, that must be the height of studios have to, after this, be just like, fuck no. You can't get all the money.
Well, I'll tell you what the height of this was, and we'll, I'm sure, cover it later. War of the Worlds was the turning point.
Oh,
where
right,
everything
War of the
God.
Worlds, right. Yeah.
That was the one where I think the two of them got like 50% of the movie, and people were like, "Fuck this."
Right.
Yeah.
No more.
Anyway, so, they're going to make the movie. Then Cruise has to make Mission Impossible 2, and that was a famously long, crazy schedule because it gets Dougray Scott out of the Wolverine role because it's
The
runs
best
so long.
decision an actor has ever made.
Right.
Guys, I love just recapping early 2000s Hollywood history.
Yeah.
So John August also does a polish. Frank Darabont does a little bit of work.
Interesting.
Although he's making The Majestic. But
My favorite Jim Carrey movie.
I have never seen The Majestic. It's good.
No.
I mean, it's so...
No,
the
it's not
reputation
good
is
at all.
so horrible.
It's not good at all.
Griffin, you're eating the loudest bagel.
To be fair, what was loud was the bag. We haven't heard the bagel yet, although, God, I hope it was well toasted.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It's crunchy.
And then the film's delayed so Spielberg can make AI because he's like, when Kubrick dies, he's like, I got to make AI. So he makes AI.
Mm-hmm.
They offer the role of Whitwer to Matt Damon.
Oh.
They offer Iris Hinneman to Meryl Streep.
What?
I mean, I'm glad neither of these came to pass because I
No.
love the performers in those roles.
Yeah.
I offer Burgess to Ian McKellen.
Wait, Meryl Streep, they offer the
Iris
wife?
Hinneman.
No,
Iris Hinneman.
like in the
Lois Smith
greenhouse.
character.
Oh, of course, yes.
They offer Agatha to Kate Blanchett, who, remember, in 2002 kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
She's in a similar sphere as
Samantha
Samantha Morton. She's not yet, like, anointed, like, great
No, I'd
actress.
say Kate Blanchett was like one step ahead of Samantha Morton at that point.
She's
they were
still
kind
in, like,
of
The Missing.
Yeah.
they were
though,
neck
you
and
know?
neck. They both kind of like Samantha Morton
They
and
each have only one Oscar nomination at the time.
And I was gonna say, I'd say Samantha Morton and Kate Blanchett were kind of in a early mids 2000s Jake Gyllenhaal, Colin Farrell kind of thing.
Oh, where they're like interchangeable in your mind?
Well, there was sort of like a thing where it's like, okay, these guys both have like a lot of expectations on them. We're putting them in big blockbusters. We're putting them in dramas. You know,
Yeah.
they both have conventional lead man looks, but sort of character actor chops.
Yeah.
And it's just like, which one's gonna,
Yeah,
you
who's
know,
Which
gonna
one's
pop?
going to go?
right?
And finally, Jenna Elfman was going to play his wife.
What?
These were like people who were in
That's
Dharma
that-
herself?
Dharma herself, the inventor of the Dharma Initiative, Jenna Elfman.
Yeah.
But then it gets delayed, so they all have to get moved. And so obviously you got Colin Farrell, you got Lois Smith, you got Max von Sydow, you got Samantha Morton, you got
This is a big bump for Colin Farrell, though,
Cold
wasn't it?
Case. Bomb?
No, bump.
Oh yeah,
Like,
huge
step
definitely.
up for
This
him.
is like Colin Farrell goes from like the guy who's in stuff, but everyone's like, "Give me a fucking break! Like these movies are bad. Like what's the hype about Colin?" To like, "Oh, he's in a serious movie and he stands out."
Tigerland. Well, yeah.
Well, Tigerland, obviously, that's his like that's when he
that was
pops.
his calling card.
But
yeah.
after that, he's in American Outlaws and Heart's War.
Oh.
And so I think everyone's
yeah,
like,
Heart's
"Oh,
War.
is this not a thing?
Oh, is this not a thing? And then you see Minority Report, you're like, oh, this is a
You're
thing.
like, aha.
American Outlaws, I think, was shot before, and I think Heart's War, yeah, because it came out.
Both those movies come out before Minority Report.
Right. I'm just saying. I think American. What I meant to say is,
Mm.
I think American Outlaws was shot before Tigerland, because that was the thing where everyone was like, "Who's this fucking guy?"
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
That was the movie where he kind of popped.
That's what I'm saying.
And
yeah.
then it
He's
was-
Jesse James in
Right.
American Outlaws.
And then that movie came out afterwards when they were like, "Oh, now maybe he's a star." I think it was on a shelf for a while and then bombed. And then I feel like Minority Report and Heart's War were the two where they were like, "Okay, here's a two-hander." Not a two-hander, but he's going to be second billed to a huge pre-established movie star.
Right.
And it was that sort of thing that Hollywood tries sometimes where it's like, let's put him underneath a guy that America feels comfortable with.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
sure,
ease him in, and then the Recruits the following year. And those are the three movies where they were
Phone
like,
Booth is also 2002.
that was the one they let him top line.
Yeah.
But the other three, like Heart's War, he's the lead character in. But Bruce Willis is like
Right.
the star. He's above the title. It's his face on the poster.
Right.
And then in 2003, he does Daredevil,
Right.
The Recruit, which I saw in theaters. That movie is abominable.
Yeah.
The sweet, the
And then,
SWAT.
no. And then one of the greatest works in American cinema history.
The SWAT.
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 I call it the SWAT.
I've
The
seen
SWAT.
SWAT. Guys, have you seen SWAT? Have you seen
Yes.
SWAT?
Oh, yeah. Michelle
What-
Rodriguez, right?
Michelle Rodriguez,
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy
Josh
Renner,
Charles.
Josh Charles,
Yes.
Ryan Van Holt, LL Cool J.
Yes.
Olivia Martinez.
Fucking
I will give you $5 million.
no.
Thing?
$100
it's-
million. He's the best.
Yeah, he's great in that movie.
And fucking come on, man, Reggie Cathy.
Oh, Reg.
He's the boss
Cathy.
who's got too much. He's had too much of their shit.
Yeah.
He literally says, SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics. Where were your tactics out there?
Why
Which
isn't
is-
this a SWAT cast?
Seriously, I'm obsessed with the
or
movie SWAT.
the SWAT cast?
At one point, Samuel L. Jackson rejects a character for not wanting to eat a hot dog from being on his special SWAT team. He says, how can I have someone who won't eat a good old-fashioned American hot dog?
Well, duh.
In his defense,
I love this movie so much.
Reggie Cathy's really cranky in that movie, but it's only because he's so tired having to adopt all these Bosnian war child. That's a good joke. That's a good joke. Bosnian war children.
Yeah, no, it's a good joke.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, he was in that. Okay, so sorry, Minority Report. So you've got, but he gets this cast together. He makes Minority Report. That's the end of the story.
Oh, what I was going to say was
the production. Then he finally does. Then he does make it, and here's the movie.
This was the thing I wanted to say. Where was it? Yes, here, okay? Because this is also, talk about 15 points, they wouldn't let that happen today. Here's another thing that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yeah.
This sort of okay, Colin Farrell, he's anointed. He's the next guy. Hollywood wants to make it happen, right? He gets a big part in something like this. What do you think Colin Farrell, who's second billed in this, right, got paid for this movie? Coming off of Tigerland and coming off of, American Outlaws, which was on a shelf, had bombed, knowing he had a couple big movies coming out, what do you think he got for this film?
$250,000.
$2.5 million.
What?
Yeah.
He's talked about how, he got thrown into the deep end.
That was a fucking thing that would happen then.
Yeah.
And
That's
he was
insane.
he was on all the magazines.
Yes.
It was just
Oh my God.
it was one of the. It's
he's hot.
Right.
He is fucking the
He's
hottest guy.
great looking
and I
guy.
love
Go
Colin
ahead,
Farrell. I
John.
think he's really talented.
You feel like I was coming at you with Joanna. He's hot.
Joanna, he is extremely good looking.
Joanna, he's fucking beautiful, okay?
So
No,
hot.
but I feel like they kind of tried to Gretchen Mol him and make him a thing before he was a thing.
No, definitely. People
they're
got a little sick of him being crammed down.
But
their throats.
unlike Gretchen Mol, he's Gretchen Mol is talented, but he's I'm really talented. It doesn't matter what garbage movies I make, I will keep coming back.
That's the thing. I mean, I think Gretchen Mol is actually better now than she was then.
Yeah.
I think Gretchen Mol's become a pretty interesting character actress.
Yeah.
I think Colin Farrell was always very good, but I think he, has been very open about the fact that he was had a lot of substance issues at the time, that he was blacked out through a lot of these movies.
He was an alcoholic, and,
Right.
and then he spirals
There are
into
movies
other
he
things.
doesn't remember making, right? And it's okay.
And then, my favorite Colin Farrell movie, Miami Vice, is the one where he's like, I don't remember making
I
that
don't remember
movie.
any of it.
I went straight into rehab after
Yeah.
making it.
Now I've never seen it. Now I want to watch it.
One of my favorite films of all time.
and just
one day I'll make us do it.
look for the glazed eyes.
He definitely. It works for the part.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
he definitely
also-
looks completely.
Because
fucking
that's
bomb.
Bumptown.
Yeah.
Miami
Right.
Vice is Bumptown, man.
Yeah.
That movie is also shot all at night on DV video, so everyone looks like they're drunk. That's just kind of the visual style at that point. But yeah, it's just a crazy thing where I think that never works if the media tries to tell people to like someone.
Right.
They have to organically fall in love with someone.
Yeah.
And they saw the thing. But and it's still the problem. Hollywood still hasn't figured out the right vehicle for him. He's one of those guys where it's first of all, I think he's always better the smaller the movie is.
Like The Lobster?
Yeah, I think he's best maybe when he's working more with a character part
Yeah.
or with a really interesting director.
He always gets kind of swallowed up in big movies. He's good, but he gets kind of lost.
The worst Colin Farrell parts, and are things like The Recruit,
The Winter's Tale.
Ask the Dusk, Winter's Tale, the fucking Total Recall remake,
Yeah.
where it's he's fine as a leading man,
not
but he's
about
not that
Colin
interesting.
Farrell.
No.
It's not about Colin Farrell at all.
He needs more to work with. He needs weird shit to work with. Obviously, his greatest role is. Oh boy, he just swallowed half a bagel.
Daredevil.
I hate you. Hate you.
What do you think is his greatest role? In
I
Bruges?
think his best performance is in Bruges.
Yeah, I think so.
probably.
Not Alexander?
I'll stand for Alexander, baby. I like Alexander.
The two McDonough movies. He's
Yeah.
I took my
great in.
friends, all
Yeah.
my friends in college, to see Alexander. They only came with me because they thought Angelina Jolie was going to be naked in the film, which she was not. Look, it was college. People are stupid.
Rosario Dawson, though.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson.
She is. That's true. That did not appease them for
She's
whatever
like
reason.
7 types of naked in that movie.
Anyway,
That's a whole lot of naked.
We watched that movie. It's a tough movie.
Not just 6 times as naked.
No,
It's like
a full 7 types
Yeah,
of naked.
full
dude.
7.
6-7. One for every day of the week.
I counted them.
We
I brought a
left.
checklist.
I think some of my friends did not speak to me for over a week for taking them to see that movie.
I've
Yeah.
had that happen.
I was a huge Colin
Australia.
Farrell fan.
I think Australia was the
Australia's
one
tough.
that I paid for a long time. Well, I will say you say he gets swelled up in bigger movies, but I thought he was really good in Fantastic Beasts. Actually,
I
Me
did
too.
too.
I
Me
thought
too.
he was
Although he
really good
obviously
in
has a smaller role.
he's a smaller part, but
And
I
that
thought he
movie
was,
does dirty by him.
I know,
Yeah.
and he should have had way more to
Yeah.
work with there.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
That one interrogation scene, he's phenomenal.
He's
And
so good,
he
and
is.
he's
Yeah.
really good at wand work. Is that a stupid thing to say?
No,
But,
no, you're right. It's with
he's so-
intention.
He's
well,
so good.
He's
but I also think that Colin Farrell has come out of the other side and has, he's a better, more committed actor now.
And I think he doesn't like being the traditional leading man. I think he always wears that a little uncomfortably.
He's we were talking about Goldblum.
right.
He's your off-ball guy.
Right.
He in Fright Night, he's fantastic, but he's not quite the lead.
He's wonderful in that.
Oh, I love Fright Night.
Fright Night is a
Really
special
good.
little movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like what Griffin was saying about Jake Gyllenhaal. that these are actually character actors, or what people say about Brad Pitt sometimes is like they're too handsome, so they get mistaken for boring leading men.
They're
but
pretty
really,
Jude Law. We
yeah.
talked about Jude Law and AI. Of course, that happens to Jude Law.
Yes.
The difference, I mean, Brad Pitt's interesting because Brad Pitt is the best-looking guy in the world who's innately kind of a character actor, but most of his best performances aren't hiding his looks. Like, I feel like a lot of guys like Colin Farrell or Jake Gyllenhaal get better if they're scruffier, if they can hide behind something.
Sure.
Like, Brad Pitt needs to play
his best roles play off of his like movie stars
who are really good looking and really charismatic, but kind of broken.
Moneyball is his best,
right?
Or up there at least,
right? But it's playing like
even
the broken
Ocean's
version.
movies, like,
and the Ocean's movies for sure. But the first two especially.
He has to be playing someone who wears that uncomfortably.
Yeah.
Whereas like Colin Farrell would rather gain a bunch of weight and grow a mustache and whatever.
Yeah.
Let's talk about different movie star.
Tommy Cruise,
Mr. C.
Tom Mapother, right? Isn't that his name?
Thomas Cruise Mapother.
Can I throw out one counterpoint?
And William Mapother in this movie.
Yes, with some extraordinary hair.
Ethan Roll himself.
Yes.
Can I just throw out one final thing about Colin Farrell's salary, just as a point of comparison?
Sure.
Colin Farrell in 2002 gets $2.5 million
Yeah.
to be a supporting character in Minority Report. In 2010 or 2011, whatever it was, do you know how much Andrew Garfield got paid for playing Spider-Man?
Oh God, what? Like $1 million?
No, it was like $300,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you serious?
That's the shift in movie stardom between now and then.
I assume it was one of those deals where it's like it scales, right? That was always how they would get you, right? It's like, yeah, you only get this for this, but by Amazing Spider-Man 9, you're going to make $20 million.
He'd make $1 million by the last film.
And it's
I'm
like,
telling you.
sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
it was like, what kind of shit? All right, no,
it was
obvious
like
Colin Farrell had an amazing agent.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And everyone was buying it at that point in time. But I just think,
I'd
like,
buy it.
hey, not for 2.5, but I'd buy that for $1.
He is hot, right? You said it.
I just pointed at Joanna.
He's a good-looking guy.
I remember him on like in all the magazines wearing all the jewelry and getting away with it. He wore a lot of jewelry in 2002.
And he was dating everybody.
Yeah.
And he had like a lot of,
slouchy beanies, a lot of slouchy beanies.
I remember when he and Brittany showed up at a party together, and it was like this like collision of two giant like
supernova.
Black holes. Yes, and they were a fucking mess. And
And it was like, he's unstoppable now. There's nothing he can't do.
Yeah.
He brought her to the Recruit premiere, I think.
My God.
Right? That's what it was. That was the big public outing. And then that was like the front page of the New York Post. It was just like, wait, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Tom Cruise.
Tommy C. So how's he doing?
Doing okay. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, we don't need to do it. This is one of my fave Thomas Cruise performances, personally.
Interesting. I think he's very good in this. Yeah.
Hot off Vanilla Sky. There's some nice Vanilla Sky crossover.
We did a whole episode about that one. That's right. Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah. So he's coming off of Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia. So some critical acclaim and Oscar nomination. MI2, not a good movie, makes a ton of money though. So he's
was the highest worldwide grossing film of that year.
And then Vanilla Sky also, for a movie that is about a lucid dream, makes pretty good money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was the period of time where Tom Cruise wanted to play a worse-looking version of Tom Cruise, because there is the scene where they put the drugs in his face so his muscles go slack is very Vanilla Sky.
It is very Vanilla Sky.
It's the same kind of look, and his physical performance is very similar.
That's true.
He was like, still make me look like Tom Cruise, but just a kind of shittier version of Tom Cruise.
Messed up Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
And famously, when he did his Collateral look,
yeah,
he insisted to have like passport pictures taken because he was like, I'm not going to look this good when I'm actually this old. That was his thing.
Interesting. And the ultimate example of Tom Cruise bearing his looks is, of course, Tropic Thunder, right? So
yeah,
he should do it more often.
He should
pull a Colin Farrell more often.
Yeah, he's not doing it. In The Mummy, no.
He's trying to look
Get
real
some
young.
pepper in that hair.
Yes.
Come on. What the fuck?
And he's also doing that thing we've talked about a lot, where it's like too many muscles in that smaller body.
Yeah, well, he's too many, and you
the
see
muscles are spilling out.
You see his muscle body, his weird
looks a little
9-pack in this one.
He's wearing weird future pants though for part of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, like they're very billowy, or maybe that's just what
future slacks.
That's what the gene was in 2002. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
it's like pretty billowy.
This is a movie that's trying to predict the future with intention. It's set in the near-ish in the 2040s. And it's like, Spielberg was obsessed with like talking to all these people to be like, what's some shit that's going to happen? Like, what do you predict?
They're
like,
the gap is going to look exactly the same as it does right now,
but
Mr.
it will
Spielberg.
Talk to you.
But also Ben and Jerry's will be there at the mall. It's fine.
That was my first reaction to watching this movie. And let me just say, I'd seen this movie only once before.
What?
In the worst.
What are you talking about?
Once before. In the worst conditions possible.
I'm just stressed.
Are you ready to flip out? You're going to flip this table over when I tell you the one time I'd seen this movie before last night.
All right. Was it like at a party or
It's
something?
gonna like knock the bagel out of
Even
your
worse.
hand.
Yeah,
Even worse.
Take that bagel. No, go ahead.
Even worse, I watched it on a laptop at summer camp.
Ugh.
Like outdoors on a picnic table. So we were like putting our hands over the
Why?
screen to shield
Like
it from the sun.
in the middle of the day.
Why
Yeah.
don't you go inside?
I don't know, because the camp
Yeah, to, like,
campers
be
are like, be
outside.
outside. Go watch
Yeah,
that
because
laptop outside.
they sent a bunch of indoor kids to camp.
Yeah, I went
and
to
they
an arts
like
camp,
made you sit outside, but,
But,
you're
like,
like, but we're still gonna watch.
If you're gonna watch it on a
Right.
fucking laptop, they can't be like, all right, look, fine, go inside. You know, like,
No.
this didn't work.
It was like tough. It was like we watched it like, I hadn't seen it. Somehow I missed it when it was in theaters, and they were like Minority Report, and I was like, oh shit, I never saw that. And sat on a bench, and it was like A, we're in the sun, and B, people kept on coming over and being like, oh, what are you watching? We had to keep on like interrupting it to have conversations with people.
They'd be like, catch me up. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, okay, so this is
Yeah.
pre-crime. That's Max von Sydow.
No, I remember
Uh,
my friends who went to see it at the
I
time.
was trying to riff there, and I didn't have anything going. Yeah,
Here's that guy from The Practice. He's the best.
this is gonna be on Cold Case. Hasn't started yet. Or had it? I don't know.
No, I think it was after this was her big breakout for Cold Case. They let her.
And then she just gets locked into that for 10 years.
Yep, forever. I was 13 when the movie came out, like 14 when I saw it, and I think when it was sold as like a Spielberg Tom Cruise sci-fi movie, and then everyone saw it, and the movie's so dour and haunted and has this pallor. It's very adult-minded.
Yeah.
It's not as like bruising as AI or abusive, but it is like not a fun movie to watch. It's like
No.
fun in that it's really well made and
Sure.
smart, but it's not like a popcorn movie.
No.
And so I think I was like, a bunch of my friends went to see it, and they were like, it's kind of boring. And there were a lot of movies I wanted to see.
Idiot friends.
Right. But so, like, when I watched it on this laptop, I remember
hate
being
your
like,
friends.
this is really good. Like, this is,
Yeah.
I'm watching this in the worst circumstances. This is really good. And then never rewatched it.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm so mad at you.
Well, I'm glad I did now.
Just because it was fresh, because it was like a fresh experience for you now? Is that what you mean?
I'm saying I'm glad I finally got around to
Oh,
watching it again
okay.
in real
'Cause it's a
circumstances. It's a
great
wonderful
movie.
movie. I love it.
It's a great
Yeah.
movie.
Do you
It's really
think?
good.
Do you think they were like? Do you think people went in 2002? And I don't remember this myself, but like expecting anything Matrixy because it has
Maybe.
like some Matrix.
It does
vibes
have
to
that.
it.
Yeah, maybe people just expected
Like
a
with the
little more
spiders
of
and
a
stuff like that. Yeah.
straightforward like action thriller. It was marketed with everybody runs, like it was marketed as this like,
Yeah.
and it is a chase movie, but like then it takes this a bunch of aggressive left turns.
Yeah.
And it's long and it's very sort of
it's Spielberg-y.
existential. And
It
like,
is. No, it's
Right.
all that. But also it's got all the Spielberg stuff. It's got a missing kid, and it's got a weird, confusing, sort of confounding ending, and it's
Yeah.
long, like you say, and
Yeah, and there's not a lot
you-
of emotional catharsis, and it's kind of
And
it's
there's
kind of
no
bruising.
like hot babe in it. Like I
No,
think
it
Samantha
lacks-
Morton like
she's a
is
hot babe,
beautiful, but like she's flopping around.
yeah,
and,
she is a
like,
heroin addicted,
Yeah.
like mutant.
Joe. Colin Farrell. How many
No,
times
he
do we have
is
to go
hot,
over
babe.
this?
He's
Colin
hot.
Farrell is hot.
He's hot.
I don't
babe.
understand why this isn't sticking.
And
Sorry,
also,
I'll work
this
on
is
it.
like Janusz Kaminski, who has also already been having a lot of fun. He's like, guys, can I just like do the weirdest lighting shit, and can
Yeah.
I like scrub this a million times, like
It's like
bleach,
the
bypass
milkiest
it?
movie.
Yeah.
And have like crazy pools of light. Like
Yeah.
seriously, there are 15 pools of light in every scene.
Yeah.
There's like a couple scenes where it's like Tom Cruise and his wife,
Mhm.
or Max von Sydow and the wife, and there's just like it's just
Oh, his
bleached-
office, baby.
Yeah, it's just like bleached out with light. It's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
You think Max von Sydow is just like, I'll sit in this pool of light. No, I
Yeah.
will sit in this pool of light. So I saw this film in theaters.
Yeah.
The Holloway Odeon. I grew up in London, guys.
Humble brag.
And
I'm from London. You
I'm
sound
from
like you're from London.
That's. I forgot about that line. It's a good line.
It's a good joke.
Really good
Forgetting
line.
Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
Saw it in, loved it. Loved it, thought it was great.
Uh-huh.
And then I bought it on DVD, and I watched it a million times. And then I bought it on Blu-ray, and I watched it a million more times. I've seen this movie a million times.
Double humble brag.
Wow.
Is it? I've seen this movie a lot. I've always been a huge fan. I don't know. Like, this was not a difficult one for me. What about you, Joanna?
I would say I've seen it 3 times. So I saw it when it came out, and I really loved it. And then I watched it a couple years ago, and I do not remember why, like what inspired me, other than it's just a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I watched it this week, and it's still a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college when it came out.
So we're not going to, like, wildly disagree on this one. I was not in college. I was 16 when this movie came
Yeah, I'm
out.
older than you
It's okay,
guys.
it's okay, Joanna.
But Yeah, and having just been really disappointed by Vanilla Sky because I had a lot of expectations. Love Magnolia was like earth-shaking for me.
So you had Cruise and Crow expectations.
Oh my God. It was like mostly my Crow expectations.
Sure, right.
And I was devastated by Vanilla Sky. I've since rewatched it and come to terms with it. But
sure. As have we.
But yeah, but my
You swallow my cum, that means something.
Yeah.
Griffin.
Yeah, it does mean something. I did swallow your cum, and that does mean something. You did that. Don't give that look like you're angry I said that.
I didn't give a look.
You did that. You set that up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got an annoying text message, actually.
Oh, I just texted you to say that you swallowed my cum and it meant something.
No, okay. But you saw it in theaters.
I did see it in theaters. Yeah. And
you were in college.
And I was in college, and I was like, Colin Farrell is hot. I think that was my main reaction.
Okay.
But you were looking for Cruise redemption, and you
found it.
You know, right?
I found it. Yeah.
This is near the end of, I feel like, Tom Cruise as a big movie star, because War of the Worlds is the end.
Yes.
It's like big movie star without tons of baggage. You know, like it's more just like, hey, Tom Cruise is in a picture.
Well, I also
that's how people talk back then.
Hey, let's go see a Tom Cruise.
Yes.
People may not remember this, but in 2002, people talk like old timey gangsters.
Well, 2005 is the end of the every Tom Cruise movie makes $100 million for us.
Okay.
His last Spielberg movie is the end of that. And I think it's interesting that, like, the promise of Spielberg and Cruise doing something together, especially after the aborted Rain Man thing, right? Where it was just like, well, if they can find the right project, they want to do something together. They talk a lot. They want to do something together. It was like, these are two guys who know how to give the audience what they want. Like, these are two guys who deliver.
Crowd pleasers. But then the movie actually, this movie wasn't quite the hit everyone was thinking it was going to be.
And then
Too dark, they said.
War of the Worlds is more successful, but also is an incredibly dark, haunted movie.
That
like, they make
garbage.
They make two sci-fi movies together.
I'm very interested in talking about that movie.
Haven't seen it since it came out. Very curious to see what I think of it now.
Very disturbing movie, in my opinion.
I remember liking half of it.
Like the first half?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's Dakota Fanning, and who's the boy in that?
Justin Chadwick.
Oh.
Chatwin. Yeah, Goku from Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah. Good old Chatwin. from
Isn't he
Shameless.
in Shameless? Yeah, he's in Shameless, right?
Yeah.
Is he still in it?
No, well.
Did they get rid of him?
They killed him, but then they didn't.
Did William H. Macy chop him up?
It's a lot.
Oh, jeez. It feels like there's a storm of spoilers in here.
Oh.
You gonna do it?
Pow.
All right.
I just think it's interesting that they teamed up doing sci-fi, which is like, the biggest genre in terms of like the majority of the highest grossing films of all time are in that genre. Here's the biggest director, here's the biggest movie star, and they made two sci-fi movies that are like meditations.
It's true.
That are haunted, that are dark, that are heavy.
Both very post 9/11 movies.
And are scary. It's like they're like sci-fi movies where there is action. They're both kind of chase movies, But both of them are like function more as horror movies in a way where it's like, are they going to get caught? It's a creeping dread,
I have a question for you. Do you think that Tim Blake Nelson thought he was making a different movie than everyone else?
I'm glad we're getting to this.
Wait, we have to get to this right now?
Sorry.
We do.
No, go ahead.
This is the question I want to ask.
Yeah.
Pick up the past. All you get is dirty. Did you like that? You seem to like that.
I like that a lot. I'll answer your question with another question.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
How fully submerged into the river of Ham was Tim Blake Nelson in this movie? I was going back and forth of like, is he bathing in it?
He's got his nose above water. Above Ham.
Because when the scene started, I was like, maybe he's just sitting on the edge of the pool. He's rolled up his pant cuffs and he's dangling his legs in it.
But then Tom Cruise, he's Tom Cruise's son, and Tom Cruise challenged him to hold his breath under the river of Ham, and he did it.
He did it.
We talk about the river of Ham a lot on this podcast.
That's a Kenneth Branagh term.
Yes. Yeah, but it was a confluence of that and the pool scene, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm riding the waves of the River of Ham.
Tim Blake Nelson, I think, got this script and the script for Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed confused. Because he's very somber in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. It's weird.
I think, come on, all those one scene or two scene characters are doing that, right?
Because
Peter Stormare.
Peter Stormare is doing something weird, but it still like works into the movie.
I would say yes.
Tim Blake Nelson's in a different movie. He's like, I don't like.
He's
like
lot.
Doing Brazil or something. You know what I mean? Like he's doing something else where he's like, everyone here is weird because it's a future, and I'm like, nobody.
You've also got
and I love Tim Blake Nelson.
Dream Man, like the Dreamweaver guy, like
Anton.
The guy, right? The guy from Contact,
yeah.
And you've got Lois Smith. You've got all these brief, very colorful performances.
Yeah, because Lois Smith is going big, others. But I think it's a good kind of big.
And she's got that CGI plans to help her.
Yeah,
right.
And she says, I mean, just that line where she's like, you'll see what I can only describe as the most extraordinary display of blue objects.
Yes!
Is one of the best
She's
delivered lines.
fantastic. She's just spritzing her plants while she's talking.
Like Meryl would have been fun and silly in that scene, but
It'd be
no,
a little
no
distracting.
contest.
I think,
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson's like also like fourth or fifth billed in this movie. He's got very high billing, like solo
Oh,
card billing.
brother, it was a Grammy-winning album, baby.
Yeah. He cited that every time he was auditioning
He
for a
should have
part.
just done his Oh Brother character. It's still big, but like a big I can get behind.
It's a big character.
That's what I was gonna say. He can play very cartoony, and he
Yeah.
can play cartoony successfully in tone with the movie, right?
Right.
But he also has given like subtle, naturalistic performances.
but
it's not
he's-
like he's a guy who only
He's
goes
in a
big.
big face because he's in The Good Girl the same year. That's a big performance.
Right.
You see us digging that one.
When did he do Cherish?
Cherish.
That's one of my favorite Tim Blake Nelson performances.
I have never seen that movie.
I know
Oh,
that.
that's
right?
That is the same year as well, 2002.
That's like a house arrest movie with what's her name, Robin Tunney. She's
Robin
under house.
Tunney.
Yeah, she's under house arrest, and he services her
I
equipment.
have never heard of this movie.
It's
I'm
really
looking at it.
good. I really like it.
He's in Holes the next year. We
Oh,
Right.
a classic
Uh,
Shia joint.
should say. Classic Shia.
He
Yeah.
does Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed in 2004.
That is correct. He
Right,
does.
yeah.
I was thinking of a big Tim Blake Nelson performance, but now I can't.
No, I
even
mean, like,
find it.
you are right that there are occasional weird, I would say, Brazil-esque moments, like the mole on Peter Stormare's assistant.
It's
You know,
big.
like
Yeah.
it's literally a big mole, but it's
Right.
also like a
Right.
big choice.
It's a
You know,
big
so
mole.
like
And even just that like setup of like
Yeah.
she's stunningly beautiful
Guys,
and
guys,
then toilet flush big
we're,
mole.
we're,
Yeah.
we're
It's like-
jumping all around.
Okay.
I'm gonna get us on
Let's
track.
start at the beginning of the movie.
I'm ready.
Because the opening of this movie is fantastic. The opening set piece of the movie.
Agreed.
The first 20 minutes or so.
what's the name of that guy? The guy from who was on Ellen, the
Uh,
Ellen show,
His name? Fuck. I know his name. Fuck.
who's not Mark. He's like poor man's Mark Lindbaker.
No, but it's a funny.
the guy who plays the.
No, I know who it is. God damn it! What the hell is his name? Eric Gross.
Oh, okay.
I feel so good that I got that right.
Oh, jeez.
Now let me see if I'm
Yeah.
right. I'm pretty sure.
Mm,
Yeah, Eric
Okay.
Gross.
Okay.
He plays.
Poor man's Mark Lindbaker.
Ouch.
No?
This movie does a really good job of just like, okay, there's the central conceit to this
Yeah.
movie, right? There's this technology that they're gonna have to explain to you,
Yeah.
and
Murder. Right.
yeah,
right?
murder is the technology. This
Right.
movie presupposes that murder is a thing that people can do to each other. No, but
His name is Howard Marks. Right. That's the character.
Oh yeah.
it's a really good active way of explaining the rules of this entire universe
Definitely.
and what this movie's going to deal with. You see it in action.
And the tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say I can get behind every single element of the tech except for the snooker balls? Like,
You don't
that's
like
the
those
one-
balls?
No, I don't like them balls.
I have a question about the balls.
I
that
don't
I'll
like how
ask
they
later.
come clacking down like
I love that they're
engraved.
wood.
Yeah, they're wooden balls
Because
engraved.
the grain, because the grain is you can't fake the
Oh,
grain. Like he
what
says
is
that.
Yes.
Neil McDonough
Neil
is like,
McDonough says that. Yeah.
every grain is unique. I mean,
Very
whatever.
artisanal.
Yeah, it's true. It is funny. Hey, man, look, I would be more into it if they were obviously real wooden balls the whole time, but they're CG at the beginning there when they're getting like laser cut.
Yeah.
And I wish they had some very.
I don't know about the ball
Very
technology.
facilitude. However you say that.
CGI wood. What is this? Groot? Is this that Groot fella the kids are so crazy about? Kids, I walked down the street, kids talk about this Groot. They're saying, I am Groot. You are Groot. She is Groot. I am confused is what I am.
Hi-yo.
Boy.
All this Groot talk.
I do like that there's the whole witness aspect that you have to have. It's like what, a judge and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
me
that.
too. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
the judge and a
Yes.
DA.
and a
Yeah.
DA.
And yeah, he does the whole routine with
Yeah,
them. Yes,
yeah.
I will verify all
and then
that.
he does the hand stuff that everyone loves and still does, and it's amazing.
And
He's
to the
better at it
classical
than
music.
he's better at it than Colin Farrell.
Yo, I do like though that he seems like a maestro. Is Colin
Yeah.
Farrell still kind of figuring it out, right?
Colin
Like,
Farrell is doing too many finger guns. Like you have
Yeah.
that one
Mhm.
shot where Tom Cruise's finger guns turn into like the vision of him holding the gun, which
yes,
is cool. But Colin Farrell is like just doing finger guns. I'm like, no, buddy, you gotta maestro
yeah,
it.
you got to maestro it, baby.
I'm
This
realizing I can't do my
No,
impression
but
on a
but
podcast.
I'm seeing Joanna's hand.
For the
motion.
listeners at home, Joe is killing it. No, I do think this was a major thought I had watching this movie. Is people always refer to that as the Minority Report thing
yeah.
when people do the screen,
Yeah.
shit, right?
I mean, it's basically the sort of pinching to zoom and the
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of like swiping things around. I mean, like again, this is part of the future tech. Some of this stuff is off, but this is not. This is
Right.
on.
But
Like,
even the pinching to zoom shit like now exists in our technology, but then certainly like the screens floating around you shit has been in 5 million movies since then.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't even think this was the first one to do it. I think this
Yeah,
was
it's
the
the first
one
one
to
to do it right.
realize it
But
the
it-
best on this kind of scale and integrate it that fully.
but also to make it something that's not boring. exploring to make it this active thing that he's doing,
right?
Even though it could be just someone sitting at a computer and like clicking on images, right?
Well,
like that's why it's a good idea. It's like,
And that's what I was going to say is I think the major testament to this movie is that everyone still goes like, oh, like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, when it's like every fucking Marvel movie has this now. All the computer screens in Marvel
movies, they're like, beep, 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 and then a fucking like living hologram with a consciousness zaps into
But then also, you get a lot of Robert Downey Jr. like waving shit in the air.
Yeah.
But like,
right.
Tom Cruise is so fucking on point doing this, right? And the movie just really is like interested in all this technology. I mean...
And Tony Stark even does it sometimes to like classical music, right?
100%.
Or like pop or whatever. Yeah.
No,
but like,
you're right.
But you're right that Tom Cruise does it better. Sorry,
He does it better than everyone. Like, it's always going to be referred to as the Minority Report thing for decades, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to a thing this movie does very well, which is we've talked a lot about a lot of different science fiction films on this podcast. But as we have delineated, a lot of times those films are technically kind of more space operas. Right?
Sure, right.
They're like
they're not
films,
trying too hard to be real,
sci-fi
grounded.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much a sci-fi movie. This is an if this then what kind of premise, hinging on technology. And I think the movie has an approach to that from the top down, which aside from the central conceit of what if someone could predict the crime, what does that mean, this and that, I think the way every technology works in this movie, it's clear how much thought went into it.
But the best part is, other than like the stupid wood grain on the balls thing, like they don't often over-explain the tech,
which
like,
I love.
with the haloing and the stick sticks.
They don't. Yeah,
they're just like use your stick stick, and then someone gets sick,
We
and you're like,
get it.
well, I get what that does, you know. But like, no one's like, well, here is a stick stick, and this is the halo, and that's what that does.
Well, and the way this movie depicts advertising and the way it uses that as part of the plot and tension and everything
and the eye scans
is
and all that
amazing.
stuff.
But it is like it's just kind of background.
Yeah.
He just shows you the world and how it exists.
Right.
And you're able to pick up on it because it's all intuitive. It's not people sitting in a room in blue skying and being like, what would be cool if this fucking existed?
Right.
He's going like, what path are we on? Like, what's the height of what's going to happen?
Right.
So when it happens in the movie, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, you know, I'm visiting New York from Bumtown, and
Humble brag.
and I walked through the Oculus, and also just being in Times Square, and you're like, when I was walking through the Oculus, which is, you know, this new sort of thing. Obviously, you guys know I'm sort of explaining to people that live here, near the World Trade Center. It's just screen after screen after screen of advertising, and the only thing that's missing is being like, "Welcome back, Joanna.
Hey, Joanna, how's that sweater?"
Yeah, we heard you cracked your iPhone screen. Would you like a new one? I did. I do.
But it's like you look at how much.
Oh no! How bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You should get a big one like me. Look, I got a big one.
Oh, I
big.
did.
Ugh.
Big.
Who do you think you are, producer Ben?
Who?
The Ben-Deucer?
Get him in here.
Purduer Ben?
We haven't talked to him.
The poet laureate?
Ben Deucer.
Mr. Hosidiv?
Those are his many nicknames.
White Hot Benny? The Fuckmaster? He's not Professor Crispy?
No.
He is, if you check the nameplate on his door, it does say Fart Detective.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Well, I'm not taking cases.
I'm not saying you are Fart Detective. I'm saying it says that on your door. And even if you're not working right now, Ben, true or false, it says that on your office door.
Griffin,
It does
swear to
say it
God.
on my door. All right, yes, okay.
He's our finest film critic.
Griffin just gave me a real, who, me? Like a real Gilly look.
I'm wiggling my eyebrows now.
Yep. Gilly! What a dumb sketch.
Yeah, it's a bad
character.
Bad character. They did 40 times.
And yet lodged in
But
my
they're
brain.
but they wore you down due to repetition.
They kind of knew, like, at a certain point, it's not going to be funny, but it's going to have the rhythms of something that's funny because you know how hard.
You know, I'll say when Wig came back and she did not Gilly, but the the
Candle Lady?
The surprise party one.
No,
the password keyword.
Password, whatever the fuck
yeah,
it's
the
called.
game show
yeah,
one.
yeah,
The game show one. I was like, oh Christ, this one. But then I was like, no, this is funny because I haven't seen it in 4 years.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That was the problem. Was she did all of her characters every episode.
Yeah. Rough.
So Minority Report.
No, well, Ben Hosley's
Producer
here.
Ben,
Ben,
will you just,
hi,
Joe,
Ben.
I
Hey, guys.
because you're new to the show, I just want you to know that Ben has graduated to certain titles over the course of different miniseries,
This is true.
such as Kylo Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Say Bennything, and T Ben Thousand, Ailey Benz,
Ailey Benz, baby.
Hosley La Vista Baby was suggested quickly.
No, thank you.
Ailey Benz.
Ailey Benz.
Haley Benz.
Ben
man.
Hosley, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, guys, I mean, I didn't chime in because I was enjoying that conversation.
Oh, that's good.
Also,
Oh,
because
Ben.
you guys are so much more insightful than me. I will agree with you, though, Joe. I hated those stupid wooden balls.
Thank you.
What's
Fuck
wrong
that
with the
shit.
balls? What about when Neil McDonough demonstrates predestination or whatever by rolling the ball? That's cool.
That's cool.
I thought Cruz did that. Cruz did that.
Cruz does it. Whoever the fuck
Farrell
does
catches
it.
it.
Someone,
Yeah, Farrell
Cruz
catches
does
it.
it.
Look,
Yeah.
guys.
What if it was a
I don't know.
snow globe instead?
You want them to make a full snow globe?
Mm-hmm.
You mean every time there's a murder, they have to make a new and like
And
inject
it's a
it
little
with the
miniature
goo?
scene of where the murder happens.
The problem is,
That would be amazing if they had to figure out the murder from a snow globe, and they had to like shake it and
but
be
by
like,
the time
"Wait,
it
what
was
is-"
done, the murder would be over. I mean, if you're really gonna do a snow globe right and with the level of detail and care and thought,
To which I have become accustomed.
right,
Yeah.
right, we have standards.
Look,
in
we're
this world.
grown-ups now.
We're
We
grown-ups.
want real fucking snow
Yes.
globes. Come on.
I want a snow globe that's
None of
telling
this
me a real
plastic shit.
story. You know?
Have you guys ever broken a snow globe when you were kids and then get in trouble? Because I did.
No, were you replicating?
That sounds traumatic.
Citizen Kane?
It was just like the snow globe broke and weird goo came out of it.
Yeah,
and
it's
that was
not
really
water.
annoying.
It's
not
goo.
water.
It's
Yeah.
upsetting goo.
Yeah. It was weird.
I do like the time that that Tom Cruise sort of like snatches the ball that has his name on it
Mm-hmm.
and distracted Steve Harris by being like, "Go get cake.
Can I get some cake
Can I
there?
go get some cake?"
That's
How was
also
that?
it's a very labored scene because he's like, how much you go get me some of that cake that thing? He's like, yeah, I'll get some for me myself as well. Like,
Sure thing, Chief. I'll get some cake too. Who doesn't like
Steve
cake?
Harris makes a real meal out of his like half a dozen. What is he? A dozen lines.
But there's also
maybe.
the later at the end of the movie when Max von Sydow is at that big celebration. They also have like a table of champagne in the control room too, because they're like, we get to celebrate too, even though we're not wearing black tie,
yeah.
right? It's
They-
all cake and
they're all
champagne
lit.
at pre-crime.
But what if Max von Sydow decides to commit a murder with a ceremonial golden weapon? Then they're in trouble. They're all drunk.
Then they got real problems.
Okay, so we see this opening scene of him solving the crime, the Howard Marks murder. Griffin, you okay there?
I'm
buddy?
doing great. I'm making plans for after that episode stuff.
Your fucking phone away. I love this scene, guys. It's great.
It's great.
I mean, we're done talking about this scene, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's just sets up the concept of the movie. You see one of these pre-crimes and them stopping it in action. It's the first 15 minutes of the movie is they, we got these three precogs. They're children of neuroin addicts.
Mm-hmm. It's like a very easy version of heroin. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's like, heroin, you have to inject it. It's like, it's all calm. This one is just, doop, doop, doop.
You can whiff it.
Yeah.
It can be a whiff.
Yeah,
Suck it
a
into your
whiff.
mouth. Yeah.
That little whiff dispenser is it seems overly complicated to me.
It is a little weird.
Yeah. What's the movie where they have, it looks like the whiffer and they suck it and then it lines their lungs so they can breathe underwater? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Hmm?
Not Harry Potter. And
No, there's some
Goblet
movie
of
where
Fire.
that's the sci-fi technology. It's like a recent movie and it looked exactly like the whiffer device they have and they go like, and they go like, great, now your lungs are lined, you can breathe underwater.
No idea what you're talking about. We got to move on.
I'm going to figure it out.
Okay.
Part
so wait,
detective on the case.
So, but this is a good, because Colin Farrell's there too while this
Yeah.
is all happening. So it's getting explained to him, but really quickly.
That's so clever.
It's very clever.
Yeah.
Like we're getting what the vague idea is, but also it's a fun action scene.
Well, and I understand it's a kids movie, so the rules are different. But look at
It's
how
a kids movie.
listen to the counterpoint I'm about to present.
Oh, I see.
The rules are different, and they have to make it more accessible. But Inside Out has to have a lot of narration in the first 10-15 minutes to explain all
Hey,
the technology.
this is
Yeah.
Garbage Island.
Which
where
there are
sadness is.
overlaps in. It's a ball-based rolling screen system.
It is a ball-based system.
Yeah. True, simpler console, although.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
those
it's
are more like bowling balls and less like snooker balls.
Yeah, there's a big.
Yeah.
Those are some
Those are some
they're
big
bigger.
clackers.
Well, then,
yeah.
There's some big clackers.
They're probably the same size balls. It's just like they're just tiny.
Oh, that's true.
they're just tiny people.
Oh, that's true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
In fact, they're probably like marbles, is what you're saying. Because they're
Well, they're
very
probably
tiny.
tinier because
Kerplunk.
they've got to be in your head.
Oh,
Think about how many you got to
yeah.
fit in there.
All
How we
right.
doing, guys?
We're doing great.
We're doing really well.
Well,
I think we cleared the first scene.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Great.
My point is, Inside Out has to have her clearly explain it because it's also for children.
Yeah, sure.
But this movie has a similar kind of setup
Yeah.
where it's we need to understand what's going on in the world outside, how they relate to it, what the technology is, how all of it works, and we just see it in fucking action. They got the
Yes.
three precogs. Daniel London is maybe sexually invested in all three of them. But he's
Yeah.
got him in the tank, and they hook
Definitely
him
an
up,
Agatha,
and he
yeah.
watches the screen, and he does finger shit, and then they see the crime, and then they have to reverse engineer from there. Where's this guy? How do we find him?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool, exciting, great
Very
sci-fi
exciting,
premise,
and it's a
great
cool
idea.
takedown where they have to figure out it's a red ball, so it's it's about to happen,
And they
gotta
catch
figure out
him
where it is,
just
They
in
catch him
time. And you also see, Tom Cruise is the fucking best at this. You
do, but you're also kind of like, wait a second, this is kind of weird. Like you're he definitely was gonna kill his wife, but you're also like, he didn't do it, and like the way they drag him out with the halo, and I don't know, you're just,
moral quandary. A real head scratcher, this one.
I just scratched my head. So then we chill out for a second while Colin Farrell is sort of more obviously and is the antagonist. Right, he's like, so anyway, I'm here to kind of like bust you guys open because if this is going national, like
doing one of my favorite things an actor can do on screen.
Wearing gum.
Were you gonna say wearing a great suit?
I was gonna say wearing a middle mustache. He doesn't fully commit to the stash.
It's true. It is a middle stash. He also wears a cross. Yeah, which is
or it's like a medallion sort of thing that he kisses. I didn't like that. That's the one Colin Farrell thing I didn't like because he has to like. He does it during the chase scene.
During like a fist fight on top of a car factory.
He's like, I'm about to wail on Tom Cruise, but first let me kiss my medallion.
Hey, ma'am.
No, here's a question for you. So I was watching it and I was like, his accent's really weird in this because it's mostly American, but then he's got these Irish inflections. And then they have that one line where he talks about his father being murdered outside of their church in Dublin.
Yeah. He's like an Irish immigrant, I guess.
But that must have been rewritten after they cast him, and he was like, hey, I think I got the accent like 95% down.
And he says like third, except it's turd, and you're like, oh, okay, no.
Right. It's like 1 out of every 400 words is like very Irish. Yeah. And they clearly were like, don't worry, we'll put one line in there to make it clear you grew up in both countries.
Hand wave that away.
Yeah.
And,
just like David Sims, who grew up in London. I don't know if you knew that.
You never
FYI, guys. Love that Colin Farrell. One day I'll interview him.
But
He'd be one of I'd really love to just sit down and really get into it with him.
Chewing gum, which I love.
He's chewing gum. It's a very active decision.
Yeah, and I always like it in performances.
It really works in this performance because
really
he makes him seem like a real jerk.
Well, that's the character choice.
Take your fucking gum out. You're in the precog temple.
Right. It's a really good coded way to be like.
He does that.
Yeah. Really good pre-coded way to kind of be like, oh, this guy sucks.
This guy's a jerk.
And he thinks he's better than everything.
Yeah.
You like get it from the first second.
Right.
He's the new guy. And he's not so sure about this pre-crime stuff.
No, I mean...
He's got his suspicions.
As he says, he's like, you're arresting people who have broken no law, right? Like, don't you ever worry about that? That kind of conversation gets played out kind of simply.
Tom Cruise rolls the ball. He goes, why'd you catch it? Because it was going to fall. How do you know it was going to fall? It didn't fall because you caught it, this and that. And then Colin Farrell's like, I don't know about this pre-crime thing. Freaks me out a little bit. I'm meat and potatoes cop. Also, who's this Groot that the kids keep talking about?
He is worked up about that.
Really? He just doesn't understand
at this point, 2048, I mean, we'd be on, like, Groot 8?
Right.
Like
the Groot spinoff.
Still Grootin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, Groot 8 still Grootin'.
Groot Meets the Wolfman 2 has come out.
Sure.
He's not angry about it. He doesn't dislike Groot. He's just genuinely like, I don't know who this Groot is.
I totally get Groot.
The Groot thing, yeah. But so that's now our main players, and then Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow, who plays, let me get his character
plays
name.
The role of Max von Sydow.
Yes, he does.
The father of pre-crime.
Lamar Burgess. Yes. And it is obviously, Spielberg was just like, Max, like, please do whatever you want to do.
Do the thing.
I think he's really good, though.
He's like fun. To the max.
He's
Yes. In, like, the best way.
It's another thing where you're like, why is the director of pre-crime in Washington, D.C., like, Swedish? Like, a Swedish man.
Like the most Swedish? You're just like, it's fine.
It is fine. You're just, I guess, the eyes of the nation. I can't do his voice. I wish I could do his voice.
You did a really good impression of him as Lor Santeca when we were covering Force Awakens.
What's a line? I literally just rewatched The Force Awakens.
There was the line he says to Kylo Ren that you did, and you did it so well that you actually asked me to give you credit on mic.
Something far worse has happened to you. I can't. There's something
at the time
that.
It was really
better.
Good. Yeah.
What else does he say?
This will begin to make things right.
Make things right. So he really hits the right.
This movie. Here are two main thoughts I had watching this film. Okay.
What?
One. God, Max von Sydow is so fucking old.
Yeah.
Because this movie was 14 years ago.
Yeah, and he basically looks the same.
He looks exactly the same.
Right. And that was like, that's the joke everyone makes is that like the thing that kind of fucked up his career was he did The Exorcist and he was playing like 30 years older than he was and the makeup was so convincing and he had such authority that everyone already assumed he was 80.
Yeah.
And he's been 80 for like 50 years.
Yes.
How old do you think Max von Sydow was when he made this movie?
When he made this movie?
Yeah.
I think 72.
73.
Damn, you're
Really good. He's now 87.
I didn't know you had this skill.
Not bad.
height age guessing.
I'm good at numbers only when they relate to movies. Box office, heights, ages, I can figure out.
Captchas.
Right, but I can't figure out the tip on a check. Captchas I can figure out. Captchas are my wheelhouse.
I can do.
Wait, what's your
check.
number 2?
My number 2 point is, God, Tom Cruise looks so fucking young in this.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing this movie and it was like, okay, Tom Cruise is like, he's like 39 in this maybe?
That's a good question. I'll look that up too.
Right, because
he
he's
might
like
be a little older than that.
Now?
He is 54 now, so he would have been, about 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like edging on 40.
Coming up on 40.
And this was a point where it's like, I always kind of, track people in these terms of how many decades they've been in movies for,
Mm-hmm.
Rather than like how many years they've been doing it. I think how many decades you're able to cross over into is interesting because the cultural shifts happen in these decades.
Sure.
So he was in like his third decade of
beginning
being
of his third decade.
right,
Yeah.
a big movie star. So at that point, it's like you're kind of graduating to being an elder statesman, not like an oldie, but like you're a steady hand, you're trusted. You've had people grow up with you. You have people in different age ranges who have different relationships.
Age
with
ranges?
You. Age ranges, which is my term for Tom Cruise fans. The age ranges.
It's like the Grange on the Wood. You can't fake it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Boy.
Thank you, Joe.
It's
5
hot in
comedy
here.
points. 5. It's really fucking hot in here.
Um,
David's pushing the LCD screen of the thermostat.
Yeah.
Guys, that's just a prop.
the off thermostat. There's like nothing on the screen.
Nothing's on the screen. It's dead.
Are you saying that like in 2002, when you see Tom Cruise cruising around in Minority Report, you did not expect him to be Jack reaching around and like, over a decade later, that he's still doing this?
It's true.
Yes.
Because when you see Collateral, you're like, right, Tom Cruise will age.
Right.
He will get older.
And that's only 2
He'll
years
start to
after
slide
this.
into
Right.
like slightly more like maybe supporting roles or grown-up roles.
Valkyrie stuff
Yeah.
is happening.
Right,
coming.
right.
Yeah.
And now he's just decided to be like, no, just like throw me out of planes
Yeah,
until I die,
he's
right?
like, forget about time. I have mastered time.
And like this was the first
Xenu
sci-fi
helped
movie.
me.
Oh my god! But I mean, he's having a
Sorry, the first sci-fi movie.
yeah, sure, go.
Griff is saying.
Were you saying he's having a good run right now?
Yeah, but also his life is like all fucked up.
It's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
yeah, this
like,
one-
he doesn't
yes.
see his kid anymore, and like
I
hear all this dark shit.
love the Mission Impossible movies.
We
Oh, we love 'em.
excuse me. You just
Without-
entered the
Yeah.
Mission Impossible temple. Apart from
Yeah.
2, obviously.
Yeah.
2 is like
So we're like the Mission Impossible precogs. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
God.
Look,
Well,
Joe, your mission, if
100%.
you choose to accept it, is to love Mission Impossible as much as we
What's
do.
your fave? It's a
Uh,
hot debate on this podcast.
it's either
First impression. Just give what does your heart say?
GoPro, Ghost Protocol.
God damn it.
Yeah. Is yours Rogue Nation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the one
Close
that's tied
second.
with you?
Close second.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to
Ghost
win
Pro-
that one.
Ghost Pro-
Has anyone talked about that? Have you talked about this? That on Westworld, which is produced by J.J. Abrams,
Yeah.
the name of like the Savage Tribe is Ghost Nation, which is
Yes.
a combination of
Rogue Nation. Ghost
Yes,
Protocol.
you've talked about that.
I mean, I don't know if I've talked about it publicly. I've
Okay.
had internal debates about it.
Okay. Am I blowing up your spot by forcing you to
No.
acknowledge this publicly?
Please always do. Let me tell you the part of. I mean, I know we're going linearly, but hey, what's time anyway?
Hells yeah.
The part of Minority Report that made me think of Westworld the most was when they take Agatha out of the tank
Mhm.
and she's freaking out and she goes, "Is it now?" And it's like,
love that.
It's such a good moment, but it's like I was like,
and he's
"That's
like, yes, this is all
yeah,
happening
this
right
is-"
now.
And she's like, "I'm so sick of the future,"
Ugh, I
and you
love
feel
her.
for her, and she's so good. And I was just thinking a lot
She's
about
so fucking good. in
Evan
this.
Rachel Wood like freaking out about time on Westworld. Spoiler for Westworld, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Spoiler for Westworld, the season ended.
yeah,
You're not watching-
you're behind.
Yeah.
Well, also, this is going to post in February.
Oh.
So,
Not even like March, I think.
yes.
Oh,
yes.
really?
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
2018.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh God, I'll stop making topical jokes.
No,
then. Am I
no.
making any
No,
topical jokes?
no, you haven't. And
Okay,
also,
good.
we love
This show's
out
a
of
time
date
capsule.
Okay.
It's a reflection of a simpler time.
Before Trump was president. Okay.
Yeah. No, but it is interesting
Dude,
because
Believe me,
Mhm.
there's some eps that posted posts. Put it that way.
Cruise
Mhm.
third, decade of being a movie star, but Mission Impossible was his action franchise. Mostly did dramas. This was his first sci-fi movie, and now he mostly
Which is
does
crazy.
sci-fi shit.
It's funny. Yeah, he
Yeah.
he didn't actually do a lot of heavy genre stuff before this.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I think of like sci-fi Tom Cruise as being this kind of broken down Tom Cruise, where he's got the weight of clearly like his life, him trying to win back public opinion. And also, Cruise now has these like bags under his eyes. He's aged very well. I wish he had more salt and pepper in the hair, but he's let some lines come into his face that make him look a little more haunted.
Yeah.
And knowing that this is a haunted Spielberg sci-fi movie, in my mind, I think had like, when I replayed the scenes from the sun-bleached, laptop
Yeah.
screen, from this movie had aged him to look closer to current day Tom Cruise.
Like
I was
Oblivion Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I was like, it's him in that zone. And then I watched this and I was like, God, that's a fresh face. You know?
Right, he's like really broken up about his son and his wife, his estranged wife, and you're like, too fresh faced, Tommy
he's
boy.
so boyish in this, yeah.
Too young, Tommy boy.
He's
to be a
excellent
dad.
in it, but just visually.
He's so good. You guys, when he's looking at like the hologram of his son and saying the lines along with the video, that's
it's great.
Good stuff.
It's great.
So that's set up early on, that he is a dude who lost his son before pre-crime was created. He is very haunted by it. It led to the dissolution of his marriage in a real M. Night Shyamalan-style plot point. And he's become a high-functioning drug addict as a way of coping with it.
Sure.
Right.
He's
But
a
also,
workaholic.
it's what drives his pre-crime
Yes.
obsession,
Yes.
right? Yes.
That he loves the idea of creating a world where no one will ever have to go through what he went through.
Are you saying this time it's personal?
This time it is kind of personal.
Yeah, it's very personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Max von Sydow is the guy, the police chief, the mayor of pre-crime, and they got kind of a father-son relationship. They're very close.
Certainly, yeah. So though it is maybe a patronizing in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like there's, Lamar really like lets him off, and it's, I think partly as we eventually realize like it's sort of part of Lamar's kind of bag of tricks to sort of keep his own grasp on power.
So I
don't know.
I'd forgotten how quickly
it's a genuine relationship.
Yes, how quickly he gets pegged with the crime. Considering the first 15 minutes is one sequence,
no, it's
essentially.
First 15 minutes is that, and then the next 15 is just, maybe just laying out the stuff we just
Fleshing
talked
out
about.
the corners
but then
of the world.
He's back at work, and hey, John Anderton's going to kill Leo Crow.
Right, and that's like minute 30.
He's going to kill Mike Binder.
Yeah. And like I'll say
There's so many jokes you almost just made.
Here's the one I'm gonna make. It's a great choice because it makes him a very sympathetic, relatable character. Because we all watch Tom Cruise and we go, I mean, I've been there. I've wanted to kill Mike Binder before. I know what this guy is going. I've been there in the room with the loaded gun.
We've all thought about killing Mike Binder.
We've all thought about it.
All right, now we're kidding, guys. It's a joke. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Rain Over Me is a really terrible movie.
Yada yada yada.
Black and white though.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Paid for by Kevin Costner.
So Sean Anderton goes on the run.
Goes on the run, and
why? Why? Because
this one's personal.
Everybody runs.
Everybody runs.
But I do like that there's not even a discussion because they're they can't really be like
because they believe so solidly in pre-crime.
That's the thing. It's like,
It's
your
their
name
religion.
came up. Sorry,
That's it.
buddy. And like.
I like that. I like how the temple minders I always liked a chief, so I'll give you a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all
that.
still like him. Like maybe not the guy who's played by Patrick Kilpatrick.
Yeah, that one guy. But everyone else is like the chief. Like
they
don't
still
mess with the
love
chief. They're
the
loyal
chief.
to
They
the
don't
chief.
want to hurt him, but at the same time, it's like if your name comes up,
That's
they put
it.
the halo on you.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the end.
That's
There's
it.
no trial. Like it's just
Another masterstroke of this movie is that the film is set during this kind of in the lead up to a major vote that's going to happen about pre-crime.
yes, there's gonna be like a national referendum on pre-crime.
Right. It's like a big Brexit-y issue where everyone's
Well,
questioning.
and that's why Colin Farrell's there to sort of audit it. Yeah.
Right.
It's from the DOJ.
Right.
Right. But it means that like more than ever, the people who are working in pre-crime are really strong-minded about the fact that
Have
it
to
is
believe in
a
pre-crime.
fair, ethical, successful thing. And you have that Colin Farrell scene where they roll the ball and they all kind of explain it to him. Tom Cruise most of all.
Yeah.
So
And the idea is murder.
Right.
It damages the metaphysics of our society or whatever.
There is no. Yeah. What was that?
That's how they explain it. That's why they see murder.
Yeah. No. Colin Farrell's
And
like,
not
so
anything
why
else.
doesn't it ping rape or like whatever?
Suicides,
Yeah.
yes.
Suicide. And they're like, yeah, because murder.
Murder.
Metaphysical. Damage the metaphysical tissue or something. Anyway.
yeah,
Delightful writing.
it's that and shoplifting are the only two that the precogs see.
God, imagine.
They see a guy at the Virgin Megastore trying to lift the new Korn album. And they're like, let's just hold that one until we find another murder.
So he gets in his car,
Yeah.
his maglev car. By the way, everyone drives a maglev car now.
Yeah. Well, because he just knows. He goes, I know exactly what they're going to do.
Yep.
I've been on the other side of this. My only way around this is to prove I'm seeing this footage. I don't know who this fucking guy is. I don't know why I would kill him. So I just got to wait this out in a way, right?
Essentially, I have to not kill him. Right.
Right.
Like,
If I can not kill him at the time they say I'm going to kill him, if I can make it past that, then I'm fucking good.
sure. And of course, part of the idea that is introduced right away, but is more explored later, is like he's the first person to see his own
Right.
pre-crime.
Right.
And does that make a difference?
You know what you're going to do. Does that give you the opportunity to not do it?
And he makes the rookie mistake of calling Max von Sydow at every turn to be like, I'm doing this now.
He calls him a lot.
This is my next move.
But once
He
again,
really puts a lot of faith in, like, he puts a lot of eggs in the von Sydow basket.
But
Yeah.
once again, this is what
There's a
makes
hole in
him
that
a
basket.
relatable character, because I know every time I'm on the cusp of a big life decision,
Yeah.
I call MVS.
Yeah.
That's who I call. I
Who
call
wouldn't?
Max, and I go like, Sidey, I don't know.
Hey, Sidey.
Yeah.
MVS is like Batman v Superman
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
head right
it's-
now. I
it's,
love it. I love it.
Who's an M in the DC universe? It doesn't matter. Carry on. I'm sorry. Shut up.
Okay.
Shut up, David.
Metallo.
Oh, yeah. There you
Metallo
go.
v Superman?
Yeah.
MVS?
I mean, that will probably
probably
at some
happen,
point,
yeah.
right?
Max von Sydow, though. Yeah, he calls him way too much. I mean, this movie does.
no. I mean, like, it's believable because this is his
Yeah.
mentor. This is the one
Yeah.
guy who can probably help him. This is his dad figure. He's like, he also calls his wife, who then calls Max von Sydow. Like all roads lead there. But like,
Right, all roads lead to Sydow.
yeah, all roads lead to Sydow.
The long and Sydow roll.
It's believable,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where you're watching a movie after you've already seen the reveal, and you're like, oh, don't call him again.
Yes.
No, that's
John,
not. No.
Who's Leo Crow? John.
Oh,
That's good.
You got it back.
You got it back.
Yeah.
Mad
He said,
TV.
Of course, don't.
You listening?
Didn't they cancel it already?
Yeah, but we'll bring it back again.
Just for the Max von Sydow sketches.
They're going to bring a Mad TV back. You're going to be the only cast member. It's going to be you live on a stage in front of an audience for an hour and a half.
It's just me doing Max von Sydow and
Hugo
Agent
Weaving.
Smith. Yeah.
Oh wait, but how's your Agent Smith go?
I would need the line. I feel like there's some
We'll
line.
say-
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, try
like
Mr.
that.
Anderson.
No, it was
try
like- it was-
Mr. Anderson.
Let's
Yeah.
try if
No,
this
no,
is
no, guys.
okay.
no, no,
so
no.
I
You can't put
asked
me on the
myself,
spot.
what would it sound like if Agent Smith was in Minority Report? And then
That's the setup to my.
yeah, you know, I get these crazy thoughts. I think
Like,
about these
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
things. You know, like here's why I can't even get this out of my head.
I have crazy ideas. I do love that was enough of a setup for an 80s comedian. You know, I have crazy ideas.
well,
Like
I'm
I
crazy.
think about
It's
crazy
wacky.
stuff.
It's pretty wacky. Just bear with me.
Such as this very specific bit that I'm going to do that is 15 seconds long.
David, if you turn away from the microphone and then turn back, it's like you're changing.
And it's like, all right.
Look,
okay.
I'm a lunatic. I'm certifiably insane, right?
My girlfriend tells me all the time, David, you're crazy.
Right.
Like
I'm
I'll
in
go
and out
there-
of institutions.
They almost say that someone else has observed that they're crazy.
My doctor tells me I need to be medicated, but I can't stop thinking about these things. What would it sound like if Kevin Spacey ate a hot dog? Oh my God, honey, this guy's fucking crazy. I feel dangerous. I feel unsafe in this room with him.
All right. Enough of that.
Great, done.
Just enough.
Done.
He runs.
He
Come on,
runs.
guys. And then like this Spielberg just starts having so much fun, and he hasn't had fun in a while.
No,
I want to be clear.
He's cutting loose.
When's the last time Spielberg had this much fun?
Well, he's
Like
having-
with his
yes.
set pieces, I mean.
Not in a long time.
Right, like Jurassic Park, probably.
It was 5 years earlier, and that movie is a couple
no,
set
Jurassic.
pieces.
Oh no, not
Lost
Lost World. Fuck
Okay.
that. There's no fun to be had there. All the fun is
Are
lost.
you kidding me?
In the world.
Come on.
That little girl does like gymnastics.
Yeah, fine. There's a couple good
That's, sure, that's right. That's like him where it's like, this will be fun, right? And then everyone's just like, no. But like all the
That's
little
like family road trip fun. Like, this is fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like
I
the
got the Da Vinci Code on
yoga
audiobook. This is
people
fun.
whose heads are tucked
Yeah,
underneath their
that's
legs.
such a Spielberg gag. There's
the
another one.
jetpack lighting the burger on fire when he's
Yes.
wrestling. I love
And they're
that
going,
shot.
get out of the house, get out of the house.
All that stuff, all of the like them messing with the world around them as
Yeah.
they like crash through everyone's houses. The guy who's like playing the trumpet or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
The sequence with the spiders where it's the bird's eye view through the rafters of the ceiling,
well,
and you
that's
see
incredible.
everyone
They
doing all
built
these...
that whole set like yeah.
Right.
You
And
see
it's-
the people going. There's a guy going to the bathroom. There's like a
There's
couple
the-
that's fighting.
Yeah, and
there's
then
a
they
couple that's having
pause
sex.
while they like
Gets
scan their
scared
right.
eyeballs.
back,
Yeah.
Ugh.
How come we don't have jetpacks now?
We do. We just didn't tell you, Ben.
Oh,
Have
Yeah,
you
we've. You're not supposed to tell him. Wait a second.
Have you seen
You've
those?
been
Like,
holding out
That was
on
the
me?
whole thing we all decided on, except for Ben.
we
I
all,
love jetpacks.
all agreed. Have you seen those water jetpacks, Ben?
Get out of fucking town.
They're like, you have to be on the water, and they shoot water out at such a speed and intensity that you're propelled up in the air above the water.
I love that.
But you're not quite rocketeering. You're
No.
like flaileteering.
Agreed, but you do get wet, Ben, because it's
Mm.
water on water.
Wow.
Yeah, Ben likes wet movies, and this is a wet movie.
There's a great bath in this movie.
Good. There's an ice bath. There's the weird milky goo that all the precogs live in.
Nice little soak.
It's like the neuron milk, isn't that what it's called or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the proton milk. He calls it
milk.
proton milk, and
Blech.
you're like, great. What's that?
It's basically just like warm Xanax milk.
That is accurate.
Can we talk about Cars on Walls quickly?
Oh,
Yeah,
we should.
Cars on Walls is cool.
Cars on
By the
Walls
way,
is cool.
we should actually mention that way back in the beginning, they, she grabs him out of the.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
actually
important.
crucial. Like
Right.
she grabs him out of the pool. He goes into the temple.
We're talking about
reaches
Agatha.
Agatha, played by Samantha Morton, and says, "Can you see?" and tries shows him some vision she's having of an old murder.
Right.
And the temple miner's like, that's crazy. She would never do that. She didn't grab you.
And then no one's like, let's follow up on this.
Yeah,
is
right.
there a camera we can look
That's when he goes to Tim Blake Nelson, who swallows an entire honey baked ham without chewing. And they give you the backstory of well, I don't know, I'm looking for these files. Oh, let's find the source of.
Here's my favorite. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. How many files do they have in there? A lot, right?
Yeah, but like bazillion.
And he's like, yeah, a bazillion, right? And
Right.
he's like, well, it was drowning. He's like, oh, that narrows it down to 5. Like,
Hey man, how many murders by drowning happen? Come on, that's hard to kill someone by drowning.
Yeah.
you just hold him down.
Well,
River
wait a
Cam.
second.
Wait a
I'm
second.
aware
Wait a
of the
second.
physics of it. But yes, that's when the Tim Blake Nelson scene happens. Anyway,
Right,
Cars
but-
on Walls.
Cars on
But that
Walls.
establishes this idea that the precogs have to kind of work together.
Yeah.
They're not powerful separately. It's three
Right.
visions together.
But especially you need the woman. You need Agatha,
She's the best one.
female, they call her. Yeah.
And when he checks, he wants to see just her feed of that drowning crime. Ooh, missing.
Deleted. Huh? What?
Interesting.
Mm.
Okay, so now Cars on Walls. They're cool. The cars move
They're
in
maglev
two directions.
cars.
Yeah. Well, they move in all directions, kind of.
But that's
Yeah.
it's a cool visual where he's like going one way and then they take control of the car and it starts heading him
Yes,
back to the
yes.
office.
Yes.
And then he
The
gets out
peril
of
of driverless cars, people. By the way.
and then he
Yeah.
gets out of the car and he's sort of like on the edge of the car and then it goes like sharply over a cliff because it's cars on walls because it's cars not just
it goes.
not just horizontal but vertical. And so he's like, so then he has to
Jump.
like hop around and it's great. It's
Yeah.
great,
It's like
great
a little
chasing.
video game.
And then we get the car factory at the end of the chase.
Which is a great Spielberg.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think I've watched all the DVD extras, but years ago. But that was something that Alfred Hitchcock had always wanted to do. He'd always wanted to have some big
Oh.
set piece in a car factory where the car is being made around the people who are fighting, and then at the end you drive out in a car. Like he just thought, that's America, right?
That's great. 10 comedy points.
And exactly, and
Yeah.
so Spielberg was like, you know what? I've got the money, I got the juice. We're gonna do this.
And like Tom Cruise's fuck you face. I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, right?
Oh,
you
yeah.
can,
Yeah.
and you should have been
Fuck
doing
yeah.
it more.
His,
honestly.
his like fuck
We-
you faces. He like sits up and he's like, "Yeah, what up, bitch? I'm alive in this car." And
It's
then
great.
Colin Farrell basically goes, "Entertain."
He goes like
that.
this. He goes. He,
Yeah, he does.
he
literally-
punches
Okay,
his own
you're right.
palm.
That's
Yeah.
my second choice that I didn't like: the kissing of the medallion and the air punch.
No, I think that's great. Also,
He's
that's
got the one trickle of blood coming out of his nostril.
Yeah.
that's where we're introduced
his
to the
half
the Sonic
Yeah.
guns. I love the Sonic guns that you
Yeah.
like. You
Yeah.
wind up. That's cool.
All the tech
Oh,
in this
those
movie
are
is really
so
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It is cool. And then we learn. Sorry, I'm not trying to rush us.
No,
or
no,
anything,
no.
but, like,
Please, please, we need to.
But
rush.
then we learned that we're not just watching a sci-fi because I don't know. I guess moving plants are sci-fi, but like the
Yeah.
plant thing feels like fantasy. Almost.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a little.
You
it's,
know,
it's unusual.
the vines.
I wouldn't say I wasn't expecting
Right.
vines that eat people
Yeah.
to pop up in
It's
this
very
movie.
Harry Potter, and
Yeah.
so like before Harry Potter, and so yeah, the vines come as is it Hinneman, right? Is that her name?
Yes, Iris Hinneman, who's been
Iris
told. I forget who plants the idea. I guess it is Max von Sydow,
Yeah.
isn't it? He's like where he's saying like who would know like how
Yeah.
the precogs work, and she's Hinneman maybe. So he goes to see the inventor of pre-crime,
Right.
Iris Hinneman, played by Lois Smith, the great Lois Smith,
Great
who's also
scene.
not aged because she
Yeah.
plays a wacky old lady in The Nice Guys just last year.
right,
and she's,
right.
She's a little older, but I mean,
Yeah.
Her eyeglasses are little Coke bottles.
Yeah,
I just
she's
watched
got-
that. I
she's
just watched
got
that movie on the plane.
big,
So that, yeah.
thick glasses.
I didn't know that she's in East of Eden.
Yeah, she's. I mean,
she's
she was
like the
an
ingenue in East
ingenue.
Eden,
Yeah,
yeah.
here's a young Lois Smith.
Yeah, but there's like a bunch of photos of her like smooching James Dean.
Hey, man, nice work if you can get
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So
It's a living.
But yeah, no,
Uh,
she's still around. I mean, she's 86 now, so
Yeah.
around here she's in her mid-70s when she makes
she's
it.
fantastic in this.
So
she's great.
good.
She's great.
I think I would have nominated for an Oscar this year.
I might have. Yeah. I mean, she's definitely. Well, I might have. The question is, do I give 2 Minority Report slots? Because I definitely would have given Samantha Morton a Griffey nomination. No question.
It's actually outrageous that she didn't get nominated.
I remember her being like in the conversation.
She was
kind of close, it felt
like. But they didn't like the movie. It only got 1 nomination for sound editing. It's like, it's kind of outrageous. It didn't get like a production design nomination, which is really crazy. Didn't get
visual effects,
And I will say, like, in terms of production design or the CG of this movie generally very good. The plants is where it sort of stretches.
It gets cartoony.
Yeah,
that is true. When it's actual CG, not so great. When it's integrated CG, right? When it's like sort of you're expanding and filling out the world, looks good.
Mm-hmm.
But when she grabs that plant to sort of make her point and it cuts her palm open, like that looks kind of. She's great. She's giving
terrific. She
believes that she's wrestling with this vine that she's grasped. But the vine itself looks kind of cheesy.
But she throws a bunch of big reveals out there. The precogs are kind of an accident.
Yes.
You know?
They were the daughters and sons of drug addicts, of neuroin addicts.
She's trying to cure, and this was like a weird side effect, was that they can see the future.
Right. And then people latched onto it. Presumably MVS was kind of leading the charge.
Mm-hmm.
And they hooked him up, so these kids have sort of lost their lives, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, so...
That is a tragedy.
They're
I'll
just
tell
in, like,
you
a
my
trance.
read on this movie pretty quickly, but also I also just want to mention, this is crucial for us to mention, and we've already gone past this scene. Cameron Crowe's in this movie.
Oh,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe's and Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz is in this movie?
Yeah, and
Paul Thomas Anderson is in it. Although, like, I've never seen him. I just know that he's in it.
I think Cameron Diaz is on that train, too, but I could be wrong.
Gonna look it up.
Anyway, we know it's Crowe.
Yeah, she is. You're right.
Yeah. Crowe's on the train.
Yeah, he is reading
He's right behind her.
What, he's reading USA Today?
He's reading USA Today that, like, auto updates. It's another sort of thing that is right.
Oh, geez, and that's Cameron Crowe.
Yes, Cameron Diaz is right behind
Cameron Diaz, I mean,
and PTA.
It's one of those tech things
there,
that's, like,
like,
almost there, you know? Like the newspaper that just suddenly, like, changes its headline.
Yeah.
And, PTA's on the car, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just we've done a whole Cameron Crowe miniseries. I mean, I figured we should shout him out.
This was the little Vanilla Sky.
Well, because
that's his co-star and his
Spieley
director.
has a cameo in Vanilla Sky.
It
was
was
like
a little crossover
right.
cameo.
I'll scratch your back.
Cameo in Vanilla Sky is a little
Wait, you mean
clunkier.
Vanilla Sky?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Vanilla Sky.
You know, like, the nominees for supporting actress this year, they're pretty good.
2002, so Catherine Zeta-Jones wins.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep for Adaptation.
Yes.
Julianne Moore for The Hours.
Mm-hmm.
2002.
Which is category 5, but whatever.
Right. 2002, Rosemary Harris for Spider-Man.
You missed an obvious one.
I missed the obvious one?
Well, because you already said Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, Queen Latifah for Chicago.
Right. The double nom.
And then is the other one a weird one?
Kathy Bates in About Schmidt.
Oh, who is great in that.
Terrific
Wait, you're
in that
saying
movie.
Samantha Morton would have been supporting?
She would have been. She's only in the last third of the movie.
She doesn't really talk until like an hour and 40 minutes in. You know, that's the thing.
She goes, but then she has that like light bathed scene where she's. Anyway.
Oh, what a monologue that is!
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Run!"
Run!
Oh my God, she's so good.
This is
so good.
And this
Morvan
is very,
Caller is the same year too. She had a great year.
Oh my God,
this is a very hard performance because it's like it's you cannot rely on any realistic human behavior.
Also, someone else who was wasted in Fantastic Beasts.
Yes,
Sam Morton.
And it was like an interesting little
Could have been
Minority Report reunion.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Terrible wig on her. They just did her
What
all
a
the disservice.
awful
Fantastic
wig
Beasts.
they gave her.
Shave her head. That'd be better.
Reprehensible. Yeah, shaved head's good.
I was looking at her IMDb, and she was doing like so much interesting work until 2009, and she's done a lot of like small movies that don't go anywhere TV since then. She hasn't done much since 2009
My favorite
of quality.
Samantha Morton in America.
It's a fun movie.
It's Synecdoche.
And
she's very good in that too. Yeah.
She has a shaved head in America as well.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I think this was maybe shot right after.
Yeah.
Or that
It
was
was,
shot
'cause
right
it
after
was
this.
2003.
She was just like growing it out.
But you're right. She just kind of. I mean, she is in John Carter, but it's a motion mocap.
But that's 2009, or that's 2012. Right.
She's in Cosmopolis.
Right. But it's Messengers in 2009 is the end of her run where she's doing a lot of really good shit with really good people.
Is that when she like came out? I don't know. That might have been when she burned some bridges because she came out and she said like that thing about her audition and how she was told she was too fat and all this sort of stuff.
Yes, and I believe she fired an agent and went to another agent. There was some tumult. I think she's an interesting
firebrand.
Exactly.
She directed a movie too, which I've heard is very good that I haven't seen. But it's on Netflix, I believe, called The Condemned. I'm getting it wrong, but it's something like that.
But she's so good in this. She's like basically Jello for the whole movie.
Yeah,
you know, like
The Unloved.
She's fantastic.
Like her physical performance is just incredible.
And you're playing someone with circumstances that don't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And she has to behave in totally unrealistic ways.
Yeah.
based on those circumstances, but she makes it all feel real. Where you're like, oh, this is what this person would actually be like if they lived in a tube of Jell-O, were the child of a drug addict,
Right.
and were burdened with seeing the future at all times.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh yeah, this seems like a very naturalistic portrayal of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, she has to play the sort of the physical pain of it, the
Yeah.
mental sort of like overload, and she's so good. And even just that shift from the monologue to the run is like, that run is terrifying.
It's so scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
But we're jumping ahead.
Way ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Everybody runs.
I can't remember where. The Iris Simmons scene. That's just fun. Where she introduces the idea of the Minority Report.
And she tells him that he needs to break back in, basically, to steal Agatha.
It's in her brain.
And she's like, I bet you know where you can get some eyeballs.
Yeah, right. That's true.
But that's like the third time. Like, they planted that very well, because I feel like, because there was that other one
There's a lot
where there
of
was
eye
like
talk.
the John Doe who couldn't be identified because he had someone else's eyeballs
Right.
in. And then at the beginning, the guy he buys drugs from has
Mhm,
no
has no eyes.
eyeballs.
Yeah, no, it's obvious, but I like Spielberg hitting it on the
No,
head.
no, I don't mean-
And
I
no,
didn't-
I know.
yeah.
We agree. We
Yeah.
agree. I mean, yeah, that scene where the drug dealer's like, the one-eyed man is
Yeah.
king, and then you cut to Cruise, and literally one of his eyes is bathed in light, and the rest of him is totally unlit.
Right.
He wants. And there's that scene where Max von Sydow says the eyes, and then coughs, and then he's like, of our nation, or
Yeah.
bam, bam.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Peter Stormare's coming.
He's coming.
But
He
yeah,
shows up.
The Minority Report, which is a great just phrase.
They disagree.
It's a cool term.
Yeah.
Is when one of the precogs sees something slightly different, which adds in some degree of ambiguity.
Wait a second. The system wouldn't work if people knew that.
No.
They delete the files automatically. Cruz has never seen them. That's why the file was missing when Tim Blake Nelson was taking some laps in the River of Ham. And now Cruz, in addition to going, okay, that's my key. If I can
There
find the
must
Minority
be a
Report
Minority Report, right?
for me,
Yeah.
then I can prove that it's not a given. But also now, moral quandary. He's thinking over his whole career.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's going, I arrested Halos who might not have done the crime.
Yeah.
That's the question. Lois Smith plays it really well because she walks in there. She's even pricklier than those fucking plants.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Nice one.
I don't know.
And you're like, what's going on? Why is she getting him so much sass? And it's like, she's got a guilty conscience about this whole
She's
thing.
giving him
Right.
the right amount of sex.
Right. So
She's
she's
giving
just,
him a good amount of
it's
sex.
her and her plant. She doesn't want to fucking
But she
deal with this
also
mess she made.
realizes, this is a noir film,
Yes.
right? It's a neo-noir movie. It's shot like a noir movie. It has this bleach
Mhm.
bypass that they were very intentional about all that. And she's like, that's a classic element of a noir movie, right? You meet all these weird characters and she's manipulating him because she's like, finally, I found a guy who can fuck this all up.
You take
Right.
it down from the inside.
But, and like in that quote you mentioned with the
Yeah.
plant where she's like, your own survival, like that's going to motivate you to do this.
But then she also says, like, don't trust Max von Sydow.
Yeah,
Don't
by
trust
the
Colin
way,
Farrell.
she's like, wait, how many times have you called him? He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, a dozen.
She's
like,
like,
wait a second.
delete him from your speed dial.
Are you an
right
idiot?
now. Yeah.
But she's also
Yeah.
like, don't trust me. Don't trust anybody.
Right.
Fuck everybody.
I mean, she's like, that Fed wants your job, which is the only time, like, I mean, you get that
Twink
later.
from the Fed. They call him the twink from
Do
the
they
Fed.
call
a
it
lot.
twink?
Yeah, they call him a twink
Oh my
like 6
God.
times.
That,
And Colin Farrell calls himself a twink from the Fed. He references it. Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I blinked the whole
Gum.
twink thing.
Too.
I've seen this movie 5 million times.
clearly.
No, but like when Colin Farrell starts to do the touchscreen
Yep.
thing,
And as we've said, he's not quite as good at
he's
it.
not quite as good at it. But like, there's that when she's like the twink from the Fed wants your job,
Mhm.
and then he does the screen. You're like, oh, he wants to be Tom Cruise. It's not that he wants to just take down Tom Cruise. He wants to do this. You know.
One scene he does really well too is when Tom Cruise is pointing the gun at him and he's like, I don't hear a red ball, and then the alarm goes off and his face falling.
Yes.
That's some nice stuff
yes,
from Colin Farrell.
in the elevator. Yeah.
Well, and that's beautiful meta casting, which
Oh yeah, of course, right. Like here's a young up and comer. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
this might be the next Tom Cruise, and certainly now I think it plays even better knowing that his strengths lied in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he ended up not fitting into that mold. So it's like here was a guy where at the time he thought he wanted to be Tom Cruise. Everyone thought he wanted to be Tom Cruise,
And then Whitwer just gets
he gets shot by Max von Sydow.
spoiler
Yeah.
for the end of this
In a-
conversation.
I was
In
talking
a-
about the movie. I was talking about real life.
no, real life.
Colin Farrell got shot by Max von Sydow.
But that was just a simple
He
dispute
had it
over a card
coming.
game.
Merely a minor
You
tuffle.
motherfucker. No, so he goes to see
Stormare.
Peter Stormare,
Mhm.
who had been in Lost World. I feel
Yes,
like he's
right.
in. Is he in another Spielberg movie? Is he
He's
in
not-
Amistad
I
for a
think-
second?
I mean-
Remember how everyone in
Yeah.
Lost World is in Amistad?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
including the T-Rex. The T-Rex plays a lawyer.
He's
now,
not.
what I see here...
The T-Rex plays the bassoon in Amistad.
I guess he's not in any other Spielberg movies.
But Peter Stormare...
God, he makes a lot of movies.
He works a lot. Peter Stormare is doing full Stormare here.
Yeah.
They're like, hey,
Storm air weather.
will you just... Stormare weather, 5 comedy
I
points.
just did the quack. He does the quack. He
Yeah.
quacks a lot.
He's just like, hey, Peter, I'm just going to let you loose. We're going to start rolling. Just do everything you can to make everyone uncomfortable.
Now, I have some issue with this scene, right?
Okay.
I don't know. What do you guys think of this? I like the scene generally. It's the eye swapping scene,
Yeah.
right? And part of the fun of the scene is that as he's injected him with painkillers and he's getting ready to take out his eyes, he's like, by the way, I'm a crazy scientist, man. I have a doctor. I set people on fire, right?
And we know each other, and I have a
The way
grudge
that's
against
revealed,
you. It's
Tom
good.
Cruise is so, he's like, you, because he has to be fun. He has to be smiling because he's the laughing gas is working.
Right.
He's like, you set your victims on fire. And he's like, they were performance pieces, right? So
Right.
you're like, oh my God. And then he totally, and also Tom Cruise doesn't have much money.
Yeah.
And in return, Peter Stormare gives him new eyes.
I
And,
love it.
Makes him eat some bad sandwiches. But like, you know,
Was
he
that
doesn't-
intentional?
I don't even really know. It's like,
Drinks green milk.
Moldy milk?
you
Yeah.
would think this is going to be like, like he's going to be in
But
real
I kind
bad
of like
shape.
that reversal. That he's
Yeah.
just sort of like.
I could be talked into this.
Yeah.
That's a good reversal.
I'll lie somewhere between the two of you in that I think it works as a reversal. I think it's way too long. I think this scene goes on for a long time.
It does go on for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
I'll say
of
if
course,
it
it
wasn't
is setting up the
Stormare,
big
like,
spider scene.
Yeah,
stuff.
and if
Yeah.
it wasn't Stormare, like it's the opposite of Tim Blake Nelson. Like I like the amount of cheese and ham
I
he's
agree.
bringing to
At this point in
yeah.
the film, especially when he's drugged, it works.
The cheese and ham sandwich that he makes is delectable.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the leisurely way.
That's the key. You got to put cheese on the ham. Tim Blake Nelson just pulled out a
Oh,
fucking.
Just
so it's a good
ham.
mix of ham and cheese. That's what you're saying.
Ham and cheese.
I know what you mean.
And
So
and then the
Tommy,
spiders.
Tommy gets new eyes.
Right.
But the spiders come, so he has to go in an ice bath, and then
Ice Pack is great, but then they zap him.
they zap him out of it.
Well, and
This is the whole
Yeah.
we've already talked about, but that whole set piece is
great.
just terrific.
and the
looking.
rule building of like, okay, you have to keep this bandage on for this long. If you take it off prematurely, then you're going to go blind and the eyes won't work.
Right, and he does go blind. I've always
Right.
that's how I've always taken it. Right, he goes blind in one eye.
In
I
one
think so.
eye?
He's the one-eyed man,
Oh.
right?
Right. But yeah, it's like the stakes are so clearly set up. It's a classic Spielberg sequence where we know what's going on, where everyone is, what has to be done, what can't be done.
Right.
And you're like, how does he get around this? Oh, he lifts up one eye.
But I also just like the
ice thing's smart.
the weird dynamic playing out between Neil McDonough and Patrick Kilpatrick. I love saying that guy's name, Patrick Kilpatrick, baby. You know, where Neil McDonough's like, let's take it easy, and Patrick Kilpatrick's like, let's rough up the poor people.
But
I want to
also-
be scary.
Also, they both just want to get lunch.
Yeah, they do want to get
They're
lunch.
hungry. Like
That's
me.
that's a big cat.
I do like the idea that they don't know how to be cops. They don't have to do anything. They just toss their little iPhones out
Yeah.
that like the iPhones go find the people. That when later when you have the murder scene and Colin Farrell, Neil McDonough's like, sure looks like a murder. And Colin Farrell's like, have you never run a murder before?
Yeah,
This
he
is,
was like, what were you
crazy."
doing before this? And what was it? It was like
He's like a treasury agent.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is like, so this is your actual first murder scene.
Yeah,
Right.
he's like, so actually, this is bullshit.
It's like non-lethal weapons and rocket packs, and all
Yeah.
they do is apprehend people before anything gets bad.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know how to get their hands dirty.
They sure don't.
Yeah.
So but he's got the Ziploc bag with his own eyeballs in it
Right.
and some goop.
Yeah, and I love that sequence. Just going back for a second, but him running through the mall where all the targeted advertisements hitting him, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, this is why he needs new eyes.
I love that though.
It's not
Yeah,
even
the
like-
ads yell at you.
It's not even like cops are gonna notice him,
And even
It's
like getting on the subway, your eyes
Mhm.
get scanned. Like
Right.
it's all.
But it's just like people know his name now. It's all
Yeah.
over the news, and if he's walking around any public place, Gap's gonna keep on putting him on
Right.
blast.
I just wish more of the Gap things have been like that 6-pack of black ribbed tank tops that you bought. How do you like those? Like they don't.
Yeah, they don't hit Tom
I need
Cruise
some
on
more
his
Tom
fashion
Cruise.
choices.
Yeah, I need more
You-
Tom Cruise jokes.
You could use a Guinness right about now, right? They do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a sale on sleeveless shirts.
Yes. How about you show those guns off, Mr. Anderton?
So he breaks into you. We talked about his weird face changing machine.
Right.
He breaks into the temple.
temple.
You don't like the face changing machine, Benny?
No,
Why not?
it disturbed me.
That's a fair
Yeah.
answer. You didn't like the eye stuff either, right?
No, yeah, I
We were
think
talking
that
about
really
this.
hit me in a visceral way.
Ugh.
I don't know, because it's like seems like some shit that could happen in the foreseeable future.
Eye stuff really freaks me out.
Yeah.
That's like my one kind of big trigger in movies in terms of like gore or viscera or like any action sequence where it's like, or a horror movie where it's eyes are the thing under threat.
The part where they were like clockwork oranging his eyes open.
Don't like it.
I almost looked away, and then I was like, no, we're going to have to talk about it on the podcast. I have to
you
watch it.
committed.
I was like, don't make fun of me if I don't watch
I
it.
looked away.
Okay.
And then the eye rolling down the.
That's a little bit of Looney Tunes. That's a little
pretty,
bit of like, oh
this
my
is what I'm saying.
God,
Spielberg
my
wants to
eyes.
have fun. I mean, yeah, it's true. It's
Like,
very
what's
Looney
what's
Tunes.
that ramp doing there? Like, why is that hallway so ramped?
Sloped. Yeah. Go on.
But he breaks in. He steals Samantha Morton. He's going to try to download her files, but then time's running out. He can't find it, so he's just got to take her, which fucks everything up because
Hey,
now no
also-
pre-crime.
I just want to say, having worked for different companies, like, isn't HR usually supposed to like,
Change
like
the locks.
exactly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
Why
this
does his
guy-
eyeball still work on the
It's
temple?
true.
Yeah.
Guys,
guy's a murderer.
I've thought
Yeah.
about this a lot. My only answer is they would just think like, well, why the fuck would he come here, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
that'd be crazy.
Right.
He's running away from us. We'd love
Right.
it if he came here. It'd be great. He would put him in jail. The jail's right down there. Tim Blake Nelson's there. Like that, right? Just like an elevator ride.
But he grabs a soggy Samantha Morton in her white bodysuit, and he's like, this white bodysuit's not going to fly.
And they flush themselves down the toilet.
Yes.
Goes to the Gap. I love
Goes
that
to
little
the Gap.
detail of him holding up the clothes
Yeah,
against the
against the
woman who
woman.
looks like her size.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, no,
Really
he
good.
rescues Samantha Morton, right? And you have that "is this now"
Yeah.
thing. So this is a noir movie. In my opinion, the movie, she's the main character, and she's the femme fatale. It's always been my read on this movie, and she is this is a movie about her breaking out of jail, essentially.
Agreed.
This
It
is a
ends
movie-
on her.
Exactly.
Which
This is
is-
a movie about
yeah.
her liberation, and she sets the entire plot in motion when she shows Tom Cruise
Can you see?
her mother's death. I mean,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, that's her mom being murdered. And like that's of course what triggers Max von Sydow to, frame Tom
Right.
Cruise, right? Like so it's like this is a movie about her. She can see the future and she knows how to she can finally, once he gets into the temple, and we're told this the first time he gets in there, like she's like, finally I can like make my escape, right?
Yes, and it's also great. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this is a movie. Yeah, this is a movie that uses Mr. X really smartly because the way Colin Farrell's
For a second
character,
I thought you said Mr. X, and I was like, who's this Mr. X?
Mr. X was the first assistant director, and I feel like they often didn't let him do his thing, but in this movie they really said, you know what?
Spielberg was like, Mr. X, and he was like, yes. I just like they had this guy in like a trench coat.
He's like played by Doug Jones, I think,
Yeah.
right?
He was had a jar of mechanical
Mr.
spider
X.
legs. Yeah. The what you were saying earlier about like Spielberg is not necessarily a subtle filmmaker. I think he's a nuanced filmmaker, but he writes big, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to understand what's going on. He wants you to have the emotional reactions
Right.
he intends
Sure.
at like given moments. And so the way that Colin Farrell's character is so unlikable, the gum chewing, how antagonistic he is from the get-go, and the fact that we have all these flashbacks to the son, it's like, okay, we know where this is going. Colin Farrell,
Of course, there's going to
set
be a
him up.
reversal here,
Right.
right? But I do like that the reversal is like Colin Farrell's too good at his job to be put over like this.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
He's just like, none of this is too easy. Yeah.
But I
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Go ahead.
What were you going to say, Joe? Yeah.
Well, you just have you have Colin Farrell evolve. I think the Whitwer character is my favorite part of this film because you have him evolving from antagonist to like co-sympathetic protagonist, and then the fact that he dies
Immediately.
is perfect.
Mhm.
It makes this film so much better that Whitwer dies.
Yes.
Like,
And it shifts it nicely
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
Lamar, obviously.
yeah.
I just think, like, you could watch this movie and go, like, okay, it's good, but Spielberg's doing some clunky shit.
Yeah.
It's so clear the Farrell character's the villain, and it's so clear that the guy he's going to kill is going to be the guy who abducted his son.
Right.
And then it's like, no, it's
None
a
of that's
prestige
true.
shit.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
making you look over here so you're not paying attention over
Right.
here, which I think in terms of twists in movies is usually the most effective way to do it.
Yeah.
Because either it's like there was no foreshadowing and then just feels fucking abusive because it's just like you just pulled a rug for the sake of pulling a rug.
Right.
Right.
Or it's too clearly foreshadowed. And this is like everything's there, but he's telling you to look at this instead of that. And so when it all comes together, it's like I had forgotten. I remember that at the end of the movie it was Max von Sydow, but I'd forgotten the Mike Binder.
Right. So
Was hired.
Yes.
you get to the Leo. First, there's that set piece where he's walking her through the mall, and she keeps
She's like,
predicting
grab
the
that
future.
umbrella.
So
stay.
smart.
Do
It's
you
just
see the
smart.
balloon man?
Yeah.
Stay.
I love her in this movie so much.
So good.
And
Such
him
a tough
too,
performance.
And him too. He's terrific.
But like the visual of him like holding her and protecting her and like
that great shot where they're facing in opposite directions, and it's like she's trying to push him away, and he's like, they're literally.
Is that not
opposing.
the poster shot?
That was one of the posters.
One of the posters.
But
one of the posters.
The major poster shot was a totally boring, just like
one
Tom Cruise.
eyeball.
No, there was the slightly cooler one where it's his face but one eye.
Yeah.
But then there's the other really dull one that's just,
Oh, that's stupid.
That was when all Tom Cruise posters look like that.
But the faces going in opposite directions. It's really good. It's really good.
And so
but
they have this great chase to get away.
But they go to Leo Crow's apartment, and it's full of pictures of all the kids he's. It's so
like you do.
stupid. Yeah,
but once again, you
really want to keep him in a loose pile on the bed. That's where you would keep your kid murder.
But
photos.
that's what I love about it is it feels like shitty filmmaking. It doesn't,
right.
It
feels
like
too
it works,
easy.
and you're just like, okay, he's wrapping it up too neatly. Like he doesn't trust us. Spielberg might have just misstepped here,
and it's like an orgy of evidence.
Right? No, that's the point.
Yes.
The point is this is a poorly directed idea.
But nonetheless,
Max
of course,
von Sydow
this is the button that he can push,
right?
To make Tom Cruise kill someone, but to make John Anderson kill, but then if, like she keeps telling him, like, you don't have to, like,
and
you're supposed to do this.
That scene is so tense because she's freaking out.
Yes,
she's like on her knees
while
on the
thing
bed,
she knows
like,
is happening, right? And
like
she's shrieking,
screaming, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. And
she
she's just
keeps
like,
saying that the difference
choose.
is you're the only person to ever know.
Yeah.
And like what did you he doesn't do it. That's what
I'd forgotten.
He doesn't do it, but then it like plays out exactly that way.
But
anyway.
then he needs it to happen because Leo Crow's been promised like redemption for
He's
his
already
family.
He beats
he's like
the
a Jack
clock.
Ruby. Yeah, he beats the clock.
Cruise
yes.
beats the clock, but then it plays out exactly.
Yeah, which I love.
Like, with the same
Anderton
dialogue.
Waite.
Same images.
Yeah.
Same dialogue,
Same
but
dialogue,
different intonations.
Yeah.
And I love that shot with
Goodbye Crow. Yeah.
I love that shot with like the courtyard of the building surrounding it when they pull up from the window and you see everyone reacting and looking at the dead body on the ground, hearing the gunshot and being like, is that a murder?
Yeah, that doesn't
right.
happen.
It's
like,
crazy.
Yeah.
They're less scared and more like, wait, that's not really. Is it murder?
Murder.
But I love that she also when he does it that she shrieks because she's like finally there for a murder. I don't know. Like it feels like
is
if
that
she
why?
can
I
feel
thought
like
it
the
was
metaphysical breaking of time and space
Yeah.
in the act of murder, like that must be like
It sucks.
right?
Yeah.
It's like the fucking worst.
So then, then we have the crime scene thing that you were talking about in terms of Colin Farrell actually being a cop and everyone else being an idiot.
Mhm.
Right.
It's great. He isn't. He's from the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
And in one scene, they totally flip the character.
He says this makes no sense, but then he makes the same mistake Tom Cruise makes. He's like, who I need to have a nice long convo with is Lamar Burgess. We're going to just talk it out. But you know what?
First-
in private.
And first thing I'm going to do is put a gun in his hand.
You know what I need to give him is a murder weapon with someone else's prints on it.
Yeah. Load that gun, put it right in his hand. No problem.
For the first time in 6 years, murder is open game because the precogs have been flushed down the toilet.
But I love that. Like,
Me too.
What is Seto's line is like, no boots on the ground.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Nothing. No boots. No spiders.
He is fucking great.
No six sticks.
He's like, no click clack of little spiders going up the stairs.
Also, what is this Groot that the kids see?
He literally, though, do you think Max von Sydow's just like, look, man, just give me the lines, I'll read them, like, and I'll murder him. Like, that's how I feel like he would approach Game of Thrones, right?
That's Hopkins and Westworld, too.
No acting required.
Yeah.
An AR, baby.
An AR. I slipped that into an Atlantic story this
It's
week.
great, right? Isn't that the best?
No acting required.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, my God, guys.
So Danny Whitwer dies.
Well, no, Leo Crow. Oh, and Danny Whitwer, right?
Danny Whitwer dies kissing his medallion as he goes.
Poor Danny. It's almost a straight take on the LA Confidential James Cromwell shooting Kevin Spacey, right? Like the sort of out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's great because
what a gun sounds like.
We're just starting to feel like, is Colin Farrell going to kind of become a co-protagonist?
Yeah, right.
Of this
Are we
movie?
going to switch leads almost? No,
Yeah. No.
He gets killed.
No, he's out of there, and now Tom Cruise is reconnected with his wife.
Well, no. First, he takes Agatha to the brain center.
Right.
To what's his name? Firefly or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Rufus Riley.
Rufus T. Riley.
Jason
right.
Antoon.
Yeah.
tries to download the murder out of her brain, but she doesn't. She tells him he didn't. Oh no, this must have happened before Leo Crow.
Right.
We're getting the chronology
getting
all
everything
fucked up.
mixed
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she says, you don't
Much
have
like the
a minority
precogs,
report.
we're seeing just
the
glimpses
minority
of things
report
out of order.
is kind
Yeah.
of that's kind of a red herring. Like it's
Yeah.
important for the larger themes of does pre-crime make sense?
That's a cool title.
But there
yeah.
there is that cool part in the Pleasure Palace, whatever we want to call it, where like
Yeah, what is the thing called? I forget.
Bruges City.
she she falls backwards, because she flails all
Yes,
over the place.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
falls
Yeah, and
backwards,
she's
and
got
she's
her
looking at the
eyes-
screen,
yeah, she's got-
and he's looking at the screen.
Can
and-
you see?
Yeah.
It's
It's
that fucking
good.
murder she wants investigated,
It's
man.
good. She's like, forget your shit.
But yeah,
My
no,
cold case is the problem.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yes. Then
they
he
go
goes
to
to his
work.
ex-wife's
You're right.
house. She lives in
Yeah.
like Virginia somewhere. Some nice.
And we've seen her. I think the movie's done a good job of keeping her in the picture.
Definitely. Because you see her as a video first.
In a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite the
in,
wig.
in quite the wig. But the video is essentially she's like, "Can I fuck you already?"
Yep.
And he's like, and she's like, "Seriously, like, come on,
Yeah.
it's time."
That's the detail I love too. A detail I love is that when he's going through the videos, each one the video quality is a little worse as he's going like backwards in time.
Ooh.
So when he goes up to the one that's Catherine Morris and he's like standing next to it, she's like 3-dimensional hologram, and then he walks to the side of it. It's like, oh no, it's like a kind of hologram where it's like there's a 3D shape and then there's projected on the top of it, but from the side it
it's
doesn't
like
really
bleeding and like creepy. Yeah.
Mhm.
that stuff's good. And then she has the scene. She talks to Max von Sydow on the phone.
She has the Lamar scene briefly where he's trying to say, "Who's Leo Crow?"
Right.
Which is he knows who Leo Crow is.
Right.
He knows exactly who Leo
This
Crow is.
this motherfucker.
He's playing everyone like a fucking piano.
He knows
He's
from
like
Leo
Tim Blake
Crow.
Nelson. He's playing everyone like an organ.
He's winning a Grammy for best soundtrack.
Why does Tim Blake Nelson have an organ?
Because he's bored. And what I like is that he has like a wheelchair with like breakfast on it. Like he has like a breakfast table.
Are you trying to tell me that you wouldn't have breakfast on a wheelchair?
Maybe I would. I don't know.
You would.
But so then yeah, you have the scene we already talked about a little bit, where the monologue where
There's a lot of love
essentially
in this house.
she tells them the future that they didn't happen.
Oh my
like the
God, it's
the
so
future they could have
upsetting.
had if his son hadn't died.
Can I throw out a hot take? Sad.
Bummer.
Really sad.
And then he gets haloed, and
Yeah.
he gets put in his halo jail, right?
And he gets his head shaved, and he doesn't look as good as Samantha Morton does.
He does
No.
not. Also, I want to point out they give him different eyes when his eye. He has those big black eyes,
Right.
And that looks cool. Like
Yeah.
it's weird seeing an actor play a role with new eyes.
And he's also got these red sort of rings around his eyes, which it gets to
Yeah.
this thing. Tom Cruise, especially in sci-fi, more interesting the more beaten down he looks. You know?
Yeah, fuck with him.
Yeah, fuck with him a little
But
bit.
maybe don't shave his head. Is that what you're going for, Joe?
I'm
Ro?
just saying.
Not his best look.
Can I call you Joe? Ro?
Sure.
Can I call you Rojo?
Sure.
So some people. So okay, all right. I feel like this was prevailing at the time, especially AI comes out. People are like this movie's too long and has dumb ending.
Right.
It's got a dumb ending. This
got
movie.
dumb ending.
Don't
Minority
like it.
Report comes out. People are like this movie's too long. Why has it got dumb happy ending again? Right. So some people are like, why doesn't the movie just end right there?
Right.
You know.
Right.
And then other people are like, the movie does end there, and the rest of it's a fantasy, right?
Oh, I
It's like,
hate that shit.
it's in his brain because
When he's in the jail.
jail.
Yeah.
That's some like
dreaming.
crack.com shit.
I
I don't
agree.
like it.
That is
Yeah.
some cracked.com shit. That is exactly what it is, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Rojo.
That is literally right. Like that. That is some honest trailers bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway. But I just
Crack.com
want-
does excellent work on other things.
They have
but when
some
they're
good
like,
stuff, but
when
sometimes they're like,
this crazy
interesting fan theory
about these movies will change the way you look at them forever.
What if Biodome is actually just a
Everyone's-
dream in Midnight Cowboy?
everyone's. That sounds good. I would click.
That's my hot take.
Everyone's gonna
Would
make
click.
their living. I've made my living. We've all made our living.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's all cool,
Of course
but
I have.
that is some
Yeah.
crack.com shit right there.
Some crack.com shit. Yeah.
But so he does have to hang out with Tim Blake Nelson, which is a real bummer. for
Ooh,
him.
that's like fate worse than death.
And then
I
you have that scene pretty much right after where Lamar she's tying Max von Sydow's bow tie.
And he's like, I will look for anything about a woman who has drowned.
Yeah, and you're
no
you're
one
like,
said anything.
come on,
about
Max.
drowning.
You've been playing this so well.
Yeah.
Now you're like,
That's
what
your
was
mistake?
it? No, I definitely didn't kill. Well,
You're
like,
one of our finest living actors. You just got to sell it for a little longer.
And then Sito made the same mistake that Colin Farrell does, which he gives her the gun. Does he not? Because she's staring at that. Is she staring at the eyeball?
Yes.
That's what she's sorry.
You're staring at the eyeball,
She's staring at the eyeball.
which is kind of a gun, in that this film posits that eyes are the most powerful tool of all.
Whoa, dude.
I'm raising my eyebrow.
I nature's gun.
But I like how this plays out at the. I like the staging of it, like the party and that they show the murder on, like, I don't know, like all the weird.
I like it all.
I like the gold gun.
I'm here for it.
I do like that he has to explain, like, a gold gun. Let me explain.
Hello.
In the
Civil
olden
War.
Because they need a gun, like, to be, like, someone's got to have a gun for the final scene.
She takes. Oh yeah, because they don't really. They have the stunt. They don't really.
They
have
don't.
guns.
No one has lethal weapons because you
right.
can't, because then fucking pre-crime wouldn't work.
Because that's a different movie. That's Lethal Weapon.
Right.
And we're watching Minority Report.
If they all had guns, then every
both
red
of which
ball
were
would be
adapted into
followed
Fox
by
TV shows.
would be followed by like another red ball, right?
Yes,
it would be
correct,
and then like Officer Anderton's going to kill this guy, like, or
It's
whatever, right?
just a daisy chain of guns.
So that's why they all have six sticks and cool, weird, non-lethal weapons. That was part of the think tank Spielberg set up. He was like, "Give me some non-lethal weapons,
That's
you guys."
awesome.
Yeah,
they should have called this movie Non-Lethal Weapons.
They should.
Just
Rojo.
saying.
shit.
Yes. Wow. Jesus Christ.
Holy shit.
That's an
What if it
anti-crack.com
was
thing.
called that? That would have been amazing. What if it was like Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise are going to make a movie and we're like, ooh, what is it? Get this. Non-lethal weapon.
Okay, so his wife, Anderton's wife, Mrs. Anderton.
Her name, I believe, is Lara.
Lara Anderton, or whatever her maiden name
Laura Anderton.
She's kept Anderton, according to the Wikipedia.
ruins Tim Blake Nelson's organ solo by
Really
slapping that eyeball.
Puts
right
an eyeball,
yeah.
and it's like,
yeah, like as if that eyeball were heavy enough to depress those keys.
It's
I'm
not
just
a heavy
saying.
eyeball. That's true.
No.
That's a little much.
Yeah, but yeah, and she
pops him out of Halo
jail. Yeah.
He reveals Max von Sydow orchestrated this crime, the murder of Samantha Morton's mother, because she had cleaned up and she wanted her back, and then he did all this trickery so he could make it look like he staged the crime, they stopped the crime, and then he did the real crime while it was happening.
What is it called? It's not a Minority Report. It's an
Echo, and that's why it was clean. That's why there's no red balls.
Smart
or brown ball.
clever. I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. And that's all invented.
We have fun. We have fun with our murders.
We try.
Lamar Burgess, he puts the fun in murder.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's about the journey, not the destination for him. You know?
And this whole time, Samantha Morton's mom has been missing. They say it. That's a weird
That's
line.
right.
Just
Yeah.
another missing person, as if there are a lot of missing
and it's like,
people
wait a second,
in this
didn't
universe.
you eliminate crime,
Yeah.
or at least murder? People shouldn't go missing anymore.
Maybe
much,
people
right?
go missing because they're not you can no longer murder people, so you can just disappear them.
But I mean, this is part of the overall message of the movie, right? It's a tenuous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yup.
Yes.
Y'all.
No, but this is a post 9/11 movie. It's a movie that's worried about the surveillance state,
Sure.
and about the ease with which we make these mental leaps.
This
right?
is right around the time Eye in the Sky. No, not Eye in the Sky. What was it?
Eye in the Sky just came out, my friend.
No. What am I thinking of? Never mind.
No, what, come on. Who's in it?
Will Smith and
Oh, Enemy of the State.
There you go, Enemy of the
Yeah.
State, which is not the same as
that
Eye
was
in the Sky.
98.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
That was
earlier.
earlier.
9/11. All right.
But this movie, I mean, I think what's interesting is 2005, Munich, and War of the Worlds are both, I think, consciously post 9/11.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but
Those
this is too. This has that DNA. It's
But this
just less
movie is-
it's less more oblique.
Well, this movie is in production
Yeah.
when 9/11 happens. You
yeah,
know?
right about.
So, sort of accidentally reflecting.
Well, I
what-
think it was it was
Turn of the Nation.
developed
Yeah.
independently,
Yes,
and then
it
I think
was.
it's seeping into the
Yeah.
bones of
How could it
everything.
not?
How
Right.
could it not?
You know, and there already is in this material a lot of overlap with a lot of the concerns that we were all fighting and wrestling with at the time.
As
And I mean,
Spielberg's,
that's
Go ahead.
Philip K. Dick, right?
Yeah.
That's just
Absolutely.
everything
Yes.
Philip K.
which
Dick
is
does
what
now.
the story.
Paranoid sci-fi.
The story is really just the first third of the movie. It's just the idea of pre-crime, and the new guy comes in, and Anderton gets caught for a murder.
Mhm.
And as he's put in prison, he tells the new guy, watch out, because they're going to do the same shit to you. That's
cool.
just the story.
I don't know if
Okay.
you guys noticed, but at the reception there at the end, they had a banner that said "Mission Accomplished."
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Should have said Mission Possible.
Oh,
As Spielberg says in an interview, guys,
Thank you.
we're
Thank you.
giving up some of our freedoms so that
Two
the government
comedy
can
points,
protect us.
Griffin.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, just talk right over that, guys.
That's what it feels like. Yes, it did. Yes.
But then the end of the movie, to me, the button that's crucial is that you see Agatha has gotten her freedom with the two twins.
Dash and Art.
They're named after Agatha Christie, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Dashiell
Hammett. That's cool.
Yeah.
But that's the note. The
mystery
movie.
writers, guys.
Yeah. I didn't get Arthur Conan Doyle. I was like Agatha Christie, Dashiell Hammett. Okay. Terrible wigs on all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got some fucked up wigs. But look, come on, they were bald. Like, come on.
It's one shot.
Terrible, awful wigs.
What if the movie should make it clear? They should have like one of them like reach up and scratch their bald head under the wig, so it's like, don't worry, we know. They just didn't want to be bald anymore.
They were sick of being bald.
This is like 2 weeks later. They didn't have time to grow their hair
No,
out.
just the proton milk really fucked with their follicles.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think like the guy who brushes their teeth, you think he like shaves their heads too? Is that?
Oh my God, that creeper! Can he get haloed, please? Because when they put Agatha back of the pool, he's like, "I'm so," and he like
he's
gives
like,
her
my
Eskimo
mom
kisses.
made me meet her new boyfriend.
Doesn't like her.
He's brushing her teeth. I'm
That
doing a
guy's
teeth
so
brushing.
gross.
Yeah, he's good.
And then the Andertons make a new baby, so they don't have to worry about their dead son anymore because they got a new baby.
Yeah, so I
Right.
mean, maybe this is where people blame, because it is that Spielberg where he's like that done perfect.
David just mimed tying a bow
Yes.
very neatly and elegantly and theatrically.
Well, thank you.
But I do think, I certainly prescribe to the theory that the ending of your movie is the thesis. What you
think
choose
so.
to end on, your final statement, should make it clear what you really were ultimately above all else trying to say this entire time. And I think it's very telling that it ends with the precogs and not with Tom Cruise. And if people complain about that Tom Cruise ending being too neat, okay, valid complaint. It's literally one shot. It's literally one shot of Tom Cruise. The wife comes up from behind him and she's pregnant. They don't
You
really.
can file a complaint.
and pre-crime has been disbanded.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been shuttered.
You see the whole thing just sort of shut down and abandoned. And like they don't say it, but it's possible. Well, that would be crazy. But doesn't it seem like it's possible that they're in the lake house, like Von Sydow's lake house? They're in a lake house.
Ooh, interesting.
And like his wife, because he murdered her mom in a lake. And at one point in the movie, his wife is like, "Well, now you're retiring. We can actually use that lake house or something like that." I don't know. The lake house.
And he's
comes
like,
up a
"Yeah,
couple
just
times.
don't look in the water."
Yeah, he's like, "Don't look too deeply." Also, let's watch that Keanu Reeves Sandra Bullock movie because it's great.
I would like to be in the lake house, but let's never go swimming.
No
70 bodies
no
in their lake.
snorkeling.
Don't go into my secret room with my ski mask in it.
The ski mask had like
It had like built-in goggles.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a fancy ski
Yeah,
mask.
it was
Yeah.
like intense. Yeah.
But I think, it's like I agree. The movie is ultimately about the precogs. That's the real story. Tom Cruise is kind of like the narrative catalyst, but that's the real emotional arc of the film. I think him regaining his, rebuilding his family is secondary. And I think the pre-crime being disbanded is like a very mixed thing. I mean, it kind of speaks to this 9/11 thing where it was like, well, we, our country took action in ways because we definitely felt the need to respond to something in some way.
Right.
And it was like, well, there's no good answer here.
Yeah.
I don't know if our administration dealt with it the right way, but it's like, look, this thing is kind of morally dubious, but if we disband it, there's going to be more murder again. So either you're going to arrest a bunch of people who shouldn't be arrested, or people are going to do bad
what a
shit.
choice.
And every single one of them was released and pardoned.
Yes.
Right.
Although the government keeps an eye on that.
Oh yeah.
That's-
But like
that's the line you
even
said.
that's
An
murky.
eye on them.
But just
Yeah.
close
Maybe
one
it's
eye
like
and fix
that
Joanna
one
with a
Tom
glare.
Cruise eye that
Yeah.
went down the sewer. That's the one that they have
Yeah.
fixed on
They
him.
keep the eye on the keys of the organ every time they do something bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I like that. I think it's
Yeah.
like a murky ending, really.
Yeah.
There's a patness in terms of like, okay, our two heroes end up happy. They get the nice little idyllic life that they want. But it's also like the state of the world is like, well, we watched this whole movie that's sort of explained how this system is corrupt and the guy behind it is fucked up and they wrongfully imprisoned a lot of people. But it's like, okay, but now a lot of people who should have been imprisoned are back on the streets. And it's like,
And Danny Whitworth's still dead.
Right. It's a rock and a hard place movie, which I like.
Gum.
Which is how we all felt in the wake of 9/11. Yes, thank you for that, Gum. I'll take it.
And by the gum, I mean box office game, and then we got to be done.
Okay. So I remember people thought this movie was going to be huge, and then it was a squeaker
Do you know
of an
about our
opening
box
weekend.
office game, Joe? We're going to play the box office.
Try to guess the top 5 of the box office of the week the movie came out.
The week is June 21st, 2002. I'm sure you're a little dork, so I'm sure you know the other movie that opened with it.
I do. Yes, I do.
So the film
This
opened,
is what I was building up.
The film opened $35 million. As you say, was seen as slightly underperforming.
Because the other film was within $1 million of that, right?
It was within $400,000.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 movies opened this weekend, and everyone was like, Minority Report is opening in the 40s.
Blowing
and
it out of the
this
water.
other movie, people were like, if best case scenario, it opens in the 20s, and then both of them open mid-30s, within $400,000 of each other, and people were like, wow, that's crazy. Is Tom Cruise starting to slip if he didn't have that big of a grip on the opening weekend? Okay. Minority Report number 1.
$35.6 million.
And then also $35.2 million is Lilo and Stitch.
Right. The adorable little Disney movie.
I wasn't in.
Which wasn't...
Okay.
02?
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah.
Was not even Disney.
I saw it here in New York.
Oh, wow.
Lilo and Stitch.
Great movie.
So I must have seen a Minority Report here.
Maybe you did.
Weird. Okay, sorry.
Not
I don't know how
even,
long you remember,
That's not relevant. But anyway, Ohana means family.
Ohana means family,
means
that's-
no one gets left behind.
True, empirical truth. But also, that wasn't even like Disney's big movie that year. Treasure Planet was their big bet, and that cost like fucking $100 million. And Lilo and Stitch was like a thing they had made in like an animation wing that mostly did TV shit and direct-to-video movies, and they
like
gave them a
Tia
little more
Carrere.
budget.
Yeah,
and that was a huge hit, and Treasure Planet was a huge bomb. But Lilo and Stitch was kind of a game changer.
Okay, what else is in the box office?
Okay.
Number 3 is a movie you've talked about.
Scooby-Doo?
Yeah. See how good he is at this game?
Wow.
We're like the
I
annoying
remember.
couple that plays charades.
I'm really impressed.
If it's time periods I lived with and I remember,
Wow. Okay.
He's good at this.
Yeah.
$24 million in its second weekend. This is,
right, because it opens to like 50.
yeah, it's already made $100 million.
It was a huge hit.
Fucking
People don't talk about it.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I saw it twice opening day.
You, what? God,
I love
awful
Scooby-Doo.
person.
I like the mythology of Scoobert Doo.
Number 4 is a movie in a franchise that is still running, a very infrequent franchise, still running to this day. It's the first entry.
The first entry of what has become an infrequent franchise.
Yeah.
I believe that is Resident Evil, the first one.
No.
Interesting.
Although I think Resident Evil is right around there. It's
Came
a
out
one in a row too.
spring 2002.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, but we're in summer, my friend.
We're in summer.
And this
More
film
clues.
has made $54 million in 2 weeks and was seen as kind of like a mildly surprising hit. Like
Underworld? No.
No, that's September
we got-
03.
It is a genre movie, but it's not like a fantasy movie. It's like an action movie.
Interesting. It's an
Action
Infrequent
franchise.
infrequent franchise.
They're still making them. 54. How many have there been in total? Can you tell me that?
5.
There have been 5 of them.
Yes. Although one of them is kind of a side equal. To use that word.
No, never mind.
No?
That's so fascinating.
Starring an Oscar winner. I'll keep giving you clues.
Starring an Oscar winner. Were they an Oscar winner at the time?
Yes, the film total gross $121 million. I'm pretty sure that every movie after it, at least the next couple, make more.
It's not Pirates.
Nope.
That's
That's next year.
03. 02. It's not The Sum of All Fears.
No,
Which I know comes out
which is
that
number
year.
5. You just guessed number 5 in the box office.
Hells yeah,
The
I
Sum
did.
of All Fears,
Nice.
which I saw in theaters. That made $100 million.
It did.
Wow.
It's which
Who could
Remember
tell
when
me
people
one thing?
went to the movies? Okay.
Yeah, seriously. You know what they do in that movie? They blow up a fucking football
Everything,
stadium
right?
with a nuke.
yeah. Right after September
Crazy
11th.
movie.
Right after September
Yeah.
11th. Is Attack of the Clones number 6?
It's number 9.
Okay.
Also in the top 10, you got Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You got Joanna Man opening at number 8.
Which I don't.
Jadona one. No. Okay.
Joanna Man. Spider-Man is clicking around there. It's made $390. It's at number 10.
Oh, that's
Got
cute.
Bad Company. I saw every single one of these movies in theaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
was
I
really-
saw everything in this top 10.
There's a Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron.
Okay, I'm gonna
Horsies.
I'm going to tell you my spirit story, which
Yeah.
is this. You can say that title and put any one of those nouns in any position in the title and it still works.
Cimarron. Stallion of the Spirit.
Yep. Stallion, Simran of the Spirit.
That's good.
Like, that's a game I used to play. I don't know why.
Okay,
Give me more hints.
let's
on
crack this.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
you said there-
infrequent franchise.
There are 5 of them, but one of them is a side quel. They star an Oscar winner. All the other ones do well after that. It's infrequent. They're spread out. The first one's in 2002.
Yeah. This is all...
Oh! It's a Born Identity.
Boom.
Thank you. Okay,
Nailed it. Under the radar, that movie.
The Renner side, cool. All
yes,
right.
good
All right.
clues. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So there you go. That's the box office game. We had fun, guys. Born Identity actually added 5 theaters that week. Just FYI.
There was originally a thing where Sum of All Fears and Born Identity were supposed to open the same day, and they were like, "We can't do this to Ben and Matt."
Poor Ben and Matt.
They're
Ben
both
and Matt.
trying to start their own little
Yes.
franchises.
What will they?
Political thrillers. Let them.
They're definitely both going to go equally as well.
Yeah, right.
Some
The funny thing is,
Fears was seen as the bigger one.
Born and Some make basically the same amount of money, about
Right.
$120 each. And where did Matt Ryan, Jack Ryan, Ben Affleck, Jack
Affleck
Ryan
never
go?
did Jack Ryan again, and Born also had
Because
such.
Affleck crashes and burns because
Yes.
he's got Daredevil and then G Lee, like he just
Right.
Jersey Girl.
It's a bad time. It was
That's
a
the
bad
next
time.
year he really.
Whereas Matt
yeah.
Damon, everyone's like Matt Damon, and then hey,
And the production history of that movie was really rough, and there were a lot of like bad buzz coming out.
Right.
They had sort of Doug Liman was stirring up his usual line mania.
Oh, I do love
The
Doug Liman.
Limonade.
Yeah.
But what? Like, is there a Jack Ryan curse? Do we think Krasinski? I mean, I guess
A
I'm way
lit-
off topic here, but
A little bit. Krasinski, is he doing it now?
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, right,
do
he's doing a TV show.
But it's going to
Yeah.
work because it's for Amazon. Everything they do is great. They're a great company.
They're perfect. I love everything they've ever produced.
Great tablets.
especially like coming up. They've just got a lot of really
They've got some
shows
good stuff
coming
on
up.
the
Most
rise.
definitely, I'm excited for the
Yeah.
supermarket they're
Yeah.
opening.
Yes.
God, their creepy supermarket where you
Yeah.
can just take shit.
It's great. I'm totally against human beings having jobs. It's great. Amazon's a great company.
All right, don't get fired, Griff. All right.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they should do it. They should kill all humans and make robot supermarkets.
All right, I gotta go home.
Yeah, I have to do something.
What the fuck are you doing that's so special?
I've gotta get a tape video off a hard drive.
Gotta
from
go
somebody.
see about a girl.
He's gotta go see
I
about
gotta
it.
go see about
hard
it.
drive.
Speaking of Matt
Yeah.
Damon.
I have to go see About a Boy. It's playing at a revival theater.
Dumb revival theater.
You're like, I'm a Nicholas Holt completist. I gotta see it all.
Joe Robinson, Rojo.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is delightful.
So great. People can listen to you on the 17 podcast that you
Yes.
mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Storm of Spoilers covering Dino Truck Season 2
And Troll Hunters.
and Troll Hunters.
Rolling out.
All-
Trolling out this fall.
Trolling out this
I
fall.
swear to God, when Troll Hunters was announced, the log line was like, a bunch of kids find something weird in their neighborhood. And I was like, is it trolls? What do you think that's going to be?
Do
trying to
they
present it
hunt
like-
them? I'm just curious. Yeah.
They find him. They make a mysterious discovery in their town.
Yeah.
Trolls?
Yeah, it's a real mystery box show, that one.
It's a head scratcher. It's a thinker.
I can't believe that show and the Trolls movie are both made by DreamWorks but aren't the same franchise.
They're not.
I'd love it if Troll
It would
Hunters,
be funny, yeah, if Troll Hunters is like a dark version
a
of Trolls.
serious-minded version where the adults are the heroes trying to kill those dumb little things. No offense to Richard Lawson, who, of course, is the father of Trolls. Thank you for being here, Rojo. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe our podcast. As always, next week we'll be talking about Spielberg's second 2 for 2 of 2002 movie, Catch Me If You Can. That's the namesake of our podcast miniseries.
That's right.
So stay tuned for that.
Cool.
And as
Please
always,
do.
please do. Really, seriously, it would be lovely if you did that. And as always, seriously, if any kid can tell me what's up with this Groot thing, I need to figure out who this Groot guy
Gump?
is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, I just stole a bunch of screeners from the Vanity Fair office,
Smart.
so
Ooh,
I am
cool.
looking forward to seeing a Monster Calls.
Uh-huh.
Seeing that
I
next week.
still haven't seen Hell or High Water, so that's on my list. Yeah, you loved it.
I love that movie. I feel like now everyone who's catching up with it is like, what? It's fine. Like, and I.
Well, my
It
dad
took
loved
me by
it,
surprise. It's a,
and my
it's a
dad's
dad movie.
my dad's kind of an Ike Perlmutter, like he's a Trump voter. So like
I know your dad.
I feel like it's sort of like a Trump voter movie,
It's I
isn't
think
it?
Angie Han. Angie Han made the joke. It's economic anxiety, the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's actually that though,
Right.
rather than like the joke of that. I think it's great. I think it's great.
I like it a lot. I do think it's a movie that benefited from no expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Hadn't
totally
played
took me by
festivals.
surprise.
It came out in
Right.
August.
Also, I
Right.
saw it at the Nighthawk, and I ate a real nice cheese plate. And that
Oh, never underestimate the
was
power of the
huge.
cheese plate.
it's
so-
just like a really solid American grown-up movie.
sure.
It might be
It's
getting a
also
little
very
overhyped
well
now.
acted.
Right,
It
right.
Very
might
well
be
acted,
overhyped.
very well written.
But like, isn't Bridges just doing like Rooster Cog.
That's
Like,
the
isn't
best.
Yeah, but really well. Really
he
well.
is really good.
Really
But
well.
he's just like bridging it up, and I
He's
feel like
bridging it up.
I've seen that, right?
But like, isn't Jeff Bridges in my opinion, the best?
Yes, he is, and it's like
My
I went
brother
into it
is
being
mad
like,
about him. My brother's like, come on, like he's just
what's
like
the Billy
"Rah,
Gold
rah,
Gruff
rah,
thing?
rah."
Yeah, right. He's chewing on a tin can.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the same performance he's done a bunch of times, but
Yeah.
you watch this and you're like, oh, every performance between True Grit and this, he didn't have good material.
Right.
And it is like, even if you've seen it before, you're like, welcome return to him having
All right.
shit to say.
What's your? Are we good, Ben?
Yes, I've begun recording, so you can jump in when you're ready.
Thank you, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you'll hate it.
I think you'll like it.
Remember when he
As
was
someone
in
who
The
just
Giver?
met you, I
Remember
think
when,
you'll like
when,
it.
I'll
remember
let
when
you
he
guys
gave
know.
that performance
That
in
fucking
The Giver?
shit and The Seventh Son.
No,
I
what's
didn't
and
know that.
R.I.P.D.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
R.I.P.D.
Oh, these
Actually,
movies.
I do have a thought I wanted to share before we record.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Regarding Minority Report, this is pretty juvenile, so that's why I wanted to sort of get your approval. While watching this movie early on, I told my roommate who was watching with me to, instead of calling it pre-cog or pre-crime, call it pre-cum.
No,
And it really
no.
changed the way I saw this movie.
No, Ben.
Okay, good. We won't talk about that.
No,
But you were recording that so you can put it after the show, right?
Sure.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
that's a good call. Yeah, put it
Yeah,
after the
right?
show. We
Okay.
put whatever awful thing we do at the start of the show that's stupid at the end of the show.
Okay.
Oh, I have one other thing I need to say. Maybe
Oh,
I should.
my
No, I'll
God.
say this on mic.
David,
no,
what-
this
these
is interesting enough
tangents,
that
what
I'll
are you
say it on
doing?
mic.
Oh my God, let's get focused.
No,
David.
this is like the Chris Gethard episode where he shows Paul Scheer what's inside the dumpster. You've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then Paul Scheer's like, oh, this is important. What I have to say, you'll actually like.
it'll be better later. Okay.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.